audience tonight. We had a closed session. Sometimes we have to pull through stuff and make sure we have at least some idea where we're heading back there before we come out here. I know all of you are here tonight to learn about the City of Royal Oak's budget. I know it's the most exciting item on tonight's agenda. I'm kidding, by the way. We're here to see some really cool things. So it's my honor and privilege to call the Monday, June 22nd Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We are going to begin with an invocation given by Commissioner Colo, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that you stand if you can, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll try to be brief because I'm excited for this demonstration. First, I'd like to start by wishing everyone a happy Father's Day that celebrated this past weekend and a Juneteenth that just passed on Friday. For Father's Day, my kids got me pictures of them on socks, and my little daughter's watching to make sure I showed everyone that, so now she can be happy. So I want to talk about the budget for a second because as we begin tonight's meeting, I want to reflect on the responsibilities that have been entrusted to us by the people of Royal Oak. Local government exists for a simple but important purpose, to serve others. My friend, the former Commissioner Shar Douglas, used to say, we are, at our core, a public service organization. Every dollar we spend, every project that we undertake, and every decision we make is guided by the needs of our residents, businesses, and communities. So tonight, we will have to pass a budget. When we pull our resources together through taxes, we gain the ability to accomplish things that none of us can achieve alone. We build and maintain road infrastructures. We provide police, fire, and EMS services. We create parks, community spaces, and programs to improve the quality of life. We do this all together. A budget is more than just numbers on a page. It's a statement of our values and our priorities. It reflects what matters most to us as a community and the future we hope to build together. So one of my current fellow commissioners often likes to say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Well, tonight we move forward together. Through this budget, we will continue investing in public safety, reliable infrastructure, our parks and public spaces, and the services residents rely upon every day. We also lay the groundwork for future improvements that will strengthen Royal Oak for years to come. So may we approach tonight work with wisdom, humility, and gratitude. May we be good stewards of the public trust, and always remember that work is not about ourselves, but about serving others and leaving Royal Oak a little bit better than we found it. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on our agenda is the Royal Oak School District Robotics Program demonstration. All right, I look forward to all agenda items, but this one I've been really looking forward to. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Is there a microphone that we're supposed to speak into for the right here?
Yeah, here, let me help you guys out here. And I want to come down here and watch it too, so. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay, that works. No Copacabana singing for me tonight. This is all yours.
Look at that full service mayor right there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. We're going to do a quick demo for you. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce a few people very briefly. There are actually more of us here tonight than I anticipated, so we'll go very fast. But my name's Cameron. I'm the coach of the high school robotics team here in Royal Oak and also coordinate some of the programs throughout the district. We have programs for all ages. We'll talk about that more in a moment. With us, we've got Lucas, who helps out with the build and design, and he's going to be doing some videoing for us here tonight. We've got Phoebe, who helps out with our software and team administration. We've got Isaiah, helps with build and design, one of our robot drivers. Got Jim Hazlitt, one of our adult coach mentors. Got Jacob with us, another build design. Clara helps with the team, the robot software. And we got Steven, who helps with the media and also made us a sick theme song this year, which is really cool. And then we've also got Jeanette, one of our teacher coach mentors, and we also got Vic in the back, another one of our coach mentors. So with that, yeah, very brief overview. Mostly we want to do a quick demo with the robot. We did have a slideshow that I sent over. Is that queued up and ready to be played? Or it's not a big deal if it's not. There's really not too much on it. But we'll give you a quick demo, and then we'll talk a little bit about our programs. And are y'all ready to start the demo? I'll hand it off to Phoebe, who can talk a little bit about the robot. The only thing I'll say is we did have to tone the demo down a lot from what the robot is capable of, just for like safety reasons. So I do apologize in advance, but I still hope you enjoy it.
We can go to the next slide. All right, so every year the robotics team gets a new challenge that's completely different, and we have to learn a lot of new engineering things. And this year, it basically was robot basketball. So if you see on the slides, our main goal was to shoot into those little funnels, super far away, super accurate. And so we had cameras on this robot tracking, and then, as you can see, a lot of different parts of the robot. And so we can start the demo, and I can talk them through what's going on. All right, so just a little small explanation. All that's going on, we have these yellow balls, we call them fuel, and they just come in through the robot, and then we have an adjustable hood, turret, and shooter speed, and we're able to aim and adjust throughout the field, or right now in this auditorium, to be able to shoot and score. Right now we're just playing catch. We could probably put a few more through.
You know, if you need a poop, the mirror is more than willing.
We thought about ways to make it work, because the cameras track the goal and all that automatically. But yeah, it is tricky because it can shoot it like 15, 20 feet in the air. It's a lot.
Does that put backspin on it, back in there? Yeah, that's really cool.
You know, even when it misses, it does such a better job than I do.
Cool. Alrighty.
So that's basically our robot for this year. Every year there's a different challenge, a different game, and we'll build something new starting in January. So let's go to the next slide. So just got a quick overview of our season. So like I said, we'll build something new starting in January. But we do stuff all year round. In the fall, we do stuff for the elementary and middle schools. We'll talk about that more in a second, although I would actually like to take a moment. We have two people here who've helped a lot of our program that are being honored for different reasons, but Marcy Dryden was actually the first principal in the district that brought our elementary school program to her school, and then John Griswack as well. We had our elementary programs in all the schools this year, so it's fantastic that you all are being recognized. Even if it's not for that, I'll throw that in there as well. Thank you. But then, so our season, we're doing a lot of outreach, stuff like that in the fall typically. Then in January, we get our challenge for the year. This year, we went to 3 competitions. We had 2 local events. At our local events, we won a couple of awards. In fact, we won the most prestigious awards that they have, basically recognizing all the stuff that we've done in our community. Both for inside of Royal Oak, and then we also work with a bunch of teams and organizations in Detroit and beyond for running events there. And we qualified for the state championship, so we went up to Saginaw. That was in April, and in the state championship, we actually did the best we've ever done. We had our highest placement as judged by the other teams there, and we made it to the semifinals in our division. So it was a really, really successful season. We actually qualified for the World Championship, which is in Houston. We opted not to go for logistics and financial reasons, but it's very cool that we qualified. Next slide, please.
All right, so as he touched on, every single fall, our high school team comes in and we run these elementary and middle school programs. So in our K-8 program, we have over 60 teams and over 300 students. And so these kids in the fall, they're coming in, they're learning how to code, they're learning how to build, they're learning how to be part of a team, and then at the end, it all culminates in a competition in the early winter. And so the really cool thing about this is alongside our administrators, alongside our teachers in the elementary and middle schools, this is also run directly by our high schoolers who are coming in and acting as mentors for our students. And so, in fact, I think at least one over here, and then I help too, because Jacob, you help. We're in the schools in the fall, actively mentoring and teaching these students all these different technical skills. And alongside that, with that help, with all this growth that we actually had both our elementary school and middle school teams be able to make it to states this year. So all of our levels got to make it to states.
So yeah, I mean, it spans all ages. So if either anyone in the audience has kids, or anyone you know has kids that are from K all the way up through 12th grade in the city, there's a program for you. Additionally, though, one thing that we would like to make a big point to do is thank the city for their generosity in making all of this possible. There is a parking structure across from the post office, just a couple blocks from here. And we have moved in there. We have the curtains closed a lot during the winter. We'll probably open up again for the summer, and you'll be able to walk by and see what we've got going on. But basically, we've taken over this suite and turned it into a robotics facility for all ages. We've got everything from, again, K through 12th grade in there. We have a full-size playing field, which is about the size of a basketball court. You really never know it from the outside, but when you go in there, it's just like a high-tech robotics lab. We got 3D printing, we've got advanced machining. I mean, you can see that we were able to build this. This is all designed, built, fabricated, coded, tested, all by us. And I mentioned that we had our most successful season ever, and this is in large part due to being able to occupy this space and have a full field to test. A huge portion of the game is autonomous, and you have to be able to test your robot, and this allows us to do that, and allows us to serve not only our community, but if you look at the slides, we got other teams that come in as well. The bottom one there in the middle, that was at the Wayne State University event. 3 of the teams at that event were all on an alliance together, and they were all building out of our shop this winter, and they made it to, they placed 3rd at the whole event, so that was really, really cool. So yeah, just thank you to the city and everyone who's made this possible. It's really transformative for our program, and it brings people to the city. I think we've had, I want to say 12 or 13 other robotics teams come in and practice with us, or just use our space for their own testing. So thank you. And that's really it. Like I said, we have stuff for all ages. You can find us online. If you search Royal Oak Robotics, we'll come up. Our website is team1188.org, team1188.org. But yeah, you can just Google Royal Oak Robotics. You'll find us. Feel free to stop in at the facility. Like I said, it's right across from the post office there. The drop box is on like the left side of the one-way road, and that is right next to our door. In fact, sometimes we get people coming in and they're like, oh, this isn't the post office. But yeah, we're there every Wednesday from 6 to 9 pretty much all year round. So if you ever just want to bring someone in, like see the robot in more space, or see what we got going on. It's a little calm during the summer because, school's out, but we'll still be there. So feel free to stop by if you, maybe you have a kid who's interested in engineering, or maybe your niece, your nephew, whoever it might be, have them swing by and take a look. And yeah, with that, thank you.
I mean, what a great demonstration, a great group of people facilitating something pretty important that will have reverberating impacts in our city. We have a great school district here, but I think what these young people are learning in that bottom corner of a parking garage is certainly going to not only accelerate their futures, offer a point of pride for the community and school district, but also the work that they'll do later in life will have a meaningful impact on the rest of us. So one more time for the robotics team and their mentors. Excellent.
Mr. Mayor, can I quickly add something really fast to that?
Yes, you may.
I know Phoebe started in Royal Oak serving us before the robotics. Also, she's a between way back in the day when serving the community. And both Commissioner Herzog and I have children who participate in the robotics program. So we benefit from that. And our children had a great time learning and innovating, which culminated in a day-long, what might be the longest day of my life, competition at the middle school, which I think went from 4 in the morning until 12 at night. I'm not quite sure. Everyone was dehydrated. But I did see Phoebe and some of her peers there working all day. So these high school kids are taking the leadership and making sure that our youth are continuing to learn. So it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, I found that really interesting how they're working with the elementary school kids and really not only setting the future of the program, but mentoring as well. And we said it, I think, a couple weeks ago, it doesn't matter how old you are, people can still look up to you. And so I can tell you this commission, this mayor looks up to you guys. You're doing pretty important work, and not just volunteering your time helping others, but really setting yourselves up to be really successful and helping the rest of us out. Helping the rest of us see students out, that's what really is helpful from our point of view. But great job, great work.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we have a couple other proclamations tonight to give. We're going to start with somebody I know, and I've known for a while. I've had 3 kids go through Royal Oak schools. Well, 2 are still in Royal Oak schools, but my eldest has graduated. She's off to Michigan State, and I have Go Green. Oh, that was weak. Oh, man. Go Green! Go Lions! All right, there we go. We got some Spartans in the house. And my other 2 are 7th and 8th graders, going to be 8th and 9th graders. And some of the best experiences they had, the best friendships they had, the best teachers they had were at Keller Elementary. So Marcy Dryden, Principal Marcy Dryden, will you come up here and join me as I read this proclamation, because we don't see this in communities nowadays. It's a phenomenon of the past where you have folks like John and Marcy that have served in one district or in one company or in one city for so many years, 30 years in this particular case. And so it's unusual, and it's worth having a proclamation, because I think it serves as a reminder how important key stable leaders are in the city and the impact that they have. So this is a proclamation honoring and congratulating Keller Elementary School Principal Marcy Dryden on her retirement. Whereas 2 years after earning a Bachelor of Science from Eastern Michigan University and completing her student teach assignment in Royal Oak Schools, in 1996, Marcy Dryden officially launched her career at Keller Elementary School as a physical education teacher. And as a devoted fan of all Detroit sports, this was the perfect way to begin her journey as an educator. And whereas leading by example for her students, she continued to pursue her own education, returning to Eastern Michigan University to complete a Master of Science in 2006, moving on to Oakland University in 2008, from where she received both her Educational Specialist of School Administration and Education Administration endorsements. And whereas in 2011 was the year she was called to the principal's office for all the right reasons, as it was then she took the leadership role as Keller Elementary School principal. And there she has stayed for 15 years, serving staff, students, and families. And whereas Principal Dryden has left her impression on the Royal Oak community during those 15 years in her role as principal, Keller Elementary, to become an international baccalaureate school, successfully advocating for learner profile traits that encourage students to always think beyond to their futures and ability to make real-world impact. And whereas for over 30 years, through her devotion to learning and leading, Principal Dryden has personified all that she taught and has made real-world impact here in Royal Oak. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission, on behalf of the entire Royal Oak community, do hereby proclaim honor, and congratulate Marcy Dryden on her exceptional career as an educator, leader, and mentor. We celebrate her commitment to service for the past 30-plus years and wish her ever success in retirement, and hope she and high school sweetheart and husband Neil are able to enjoy more visits to Hubbard Lake now that her schedule has a little more free time. Marcy Dryden, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You have a few words?
Okay, I was not prepared for this. I've actually been golfing all day for the Royal Oak Schools Foundation, so bear with me. We did win co-ed, and I did get the longest drive, so I'll take that.
All right.
Yeah, right. My PE days are with me right now. But I think the example today that our students showed with their robotics, it's giving them whatever it is to bring whatever it is, their dreams, their hopes, their wants, whatever it is, to bring that to fruition, and whatever that looks like. Whether it's giving them the post office to practice from, or whatever the barriers are, to get those out of the way so that they can dream big. And that's what it's all about. It's about the students. It's about them growing to be leaders and to give back to their own community. And I just am so honored and so blessed. And I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better career with the people that I work with. We got Jeanette McLeod right here, who hopefully one day will step in my shoes and be a leader as well. That's what Royal Oak is all about. It's a community that cares about their kids, that cares about their schools. And I wish I was more prepared for this. I'm really not, and I'm not a great speaker, but from the heart, I just love this job so much, and the community. It's just, there's nobody better. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. And I thank you so much. And it's families like the Fourniers that make this so hard to leave, because they've been so supportive and been so great. So thank you so much for this, and I truly will cherish it. Thank you so much.
Yes, for those of us who have had a lot of kids go through Keller Elementary, we refer to ourselves as serial Kellers.
Yeah.
So, and
I'll always be. Once a husky, I was a husky.
and what didn't make it into her proclamation is on several occasions she would make bets with the students and camp on top of the roof and do all the things, pies in the face, dunks, you name it, which was always, the kids just loved that. It was so good, really building that. 8 crickets, yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Colo, you can relate to that. I made Commissioner Colo eat some bugs the other week. That's a story for another time. Next up, John, come on up. Congratulations, by the way. So, again, finding people that have served in public service for the better part of 3 decades is rare. To have 2 of them in one night have a proclamation because they're both retiring and going on to better and more beautiful things. And as a husband of an educator, spending 20 months, 30 months, seems like a lot, 20, 30 years is a really big deal. It is harder and harder with all of the distractions today to remain relevant and to be relatable to the new student body. There are so many issues, and for people that get into this, like John and Marcy, they really care and have a genuine empathetic nature about them that makes them the leaders that they are and the principals that they are. And it's, again, we just don't see this anymore. Folks are changing careers. When the going gets tough, they get out. But John didn't. John stuck with it for a number of years, and now he's going to benefit from a very exciting and hopefully engaging retirement. So this is a proclamation honoring and congratulating Upton Elementary School Principal John Griswick on his retirement. Whereas after dedicating many years of service to Royal Oak Schools, Upton Elementary Principal John Griswick is retiring. And whereas during Principal Griswick's tenure, he demonstrated true leadership by staying fully committed to Upton's vision of inspiring students to become lifelong learners. And whereas through collaborative and supportive work with at all levels, from the district administration to staff and students with Upton, excuse me, and further to families of Upton students, Principal Griswold has a long list of accomplishments, which include creation of the Upton Rock Bands program, which groups students across multiple grade levels with staff who serve as mentors, focusing on social and emotional learning topics. Upton Rock Bands has strengthened student connections to staff and built a strong sense of community across Upton School. Implementation of the Level 4 program to support students in the special education programs with significant needs, ensuring students were welcomed fully into the Upton community. And establishing an Upton crisis team to ensure student safety by providing staff behavioral threat assessment and management training. Whereas Principal Griswold's legacy will have an ongoing impact as staff and students continue to learn, practice, apply, and teach the many lessons given by Principal Griswold. Now, therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission, on behalf of the entire Royal Oak community, do hereby proclaim, honor, and congratulate John Griswold on a remarkable career as an educator, mentor, and model on how to live and learn and celebrate his many years of service and leadership with the Royal Oak School District, and wish all the best in his next endeavors upon his retirement. John, thank you. It's an honor to present that to you. And I'll allow you a few minutes to make
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Commissioners. I appreciate this so much. I grew up in Royal Oak. I went to the Boys and Girls Club as a young 7-year-old, was so excited to get into there and started my love of Royal Oak at a young age. I learned from Jack Salter, who now is named the Salter Center down there, how important it was to know kids by their name. And when I became a staff member there, he would point to kids, if you didn't know that child's name, you were going to be in some trouble. So we made sure we knew everyone's name, and my secretary can attest to this, that I really worked hard to learn everybody. So when I saw the kids, it wasn't, hey buddy, how are you? It was actually talking to them by name, and what a difference that made. I've been blessed. I mean, 30 wonderful years in Royal Oak, and as the mayor said, it's nice to have had a career like this, and to know that I was supported by wonderful staff, parents, in a community, and it was just the best feeling in the world. And leaving Royal Oak, it was a difficult decision, but it was time, and it was nice that the person who's taking my spot, Mrs. Szymanski, I actually hired her as a teacher. So it's nice to give her the opportunity to take her chance at leading, and I know she'll do a fantastic job at Upton. Again, I thank you all. What a wonderful honor it was to receive this, and have a wonderful night. Thank you, everybody. I see some familiar faces. I see one of my former students in the audience, too, so good to see you. Thank you.
Alrighty, we'll give a moment for folks to pack up. I would normally say it's a school night, but we know what time of year it is. That's true. Always learning. Thank you. Thank you. And this is nice. It's good to have these stories be told in this chamber, right? We deal with a lot of challenging issues here, difficult decisions, and it's good to pause and take pride in the things that are important in our community. Okay. All right. So that brings us to number 7, the approval of tonight's agenda. Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move for approval of the agenda with the addition of an item to discuss the throne restrooms.
Okay, so an item 13.5 to discuss, you said throne bathrooms?
Yes.
Throne bathrooms. Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Colo, second by Commissioner Bastian. All right, discussion on tonight's agenda. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. We have an agenda. All right, that brings us to public comment. Just a few rules before we commence. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to help make decisions. Now's the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any city-related issue, whether or not it's on the agenda. I ask that comments are directed to the Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. In addition to public comment, there will be 2 public hearings at tonight's meeting. If you're here to comment on the public hearing for the adoption of the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget or the public hearing on the Brownfield plan at 414 East Hudson, you may wait until that time at which the public hearing is open, and you can comment at that time, and all the same rules apply here. If you wish to speak tonight on either public comment or at the public hearings, please wait until recognized by me, the mayor, and come up to the podium. For the record, we do ask that you state your full name and address, and please be mindful that the City Commission wishes to hear from anyone who wants to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 3 minutes per person and not per speaker. And we also have a timer at the podium to help you keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, that's okay. There are other ways to get a hold of us, email, letters, buying ice cream at the grocery store. We're public servants. You can ask us questions anytime. Please note that the City Commission will not respond directly to questions during public comment. However, we are taking notes, and when that topic comes up, we will ask those questions on your behalf. If your question has nothing to do with what's on tonight's agenda, our city manager is also taking copious notes and will get the answer to you. But we do ask that you leave your name and contact information so we can get back to you. And so the best way to do that, there's a QR there in front of Deputy Chief Spencer right there. Or is Ms. Davids here tonight? No, we have Susan Barkman. So Susan Barkman can also take your name and information so we can go and bird dog the answer and get it back to you. Unless it's a rhetorical question, then you can just say, hey, this is a rhetorical question. Like, why does the mayor talk so much during these public comment instructions? Yes. Well, I've been up here for a while. You got to be explicit and clear so we make sure everything goes smoothly. So with that, who's first tonight? No, this is just for general public comment, not for the public hearings. Who's first? Yes, sir. I see a hand in the back. Yeah, right up here to the podium, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. I've attended these meetings for 30 years, maybe 2 or 3 a year. One thing I've noticed is a change that concerns me. The invocation. It used to be a prayer. We always opened up our city commission meetings with a moment of prayer, seeking wisdom and guidance. We no longer have a prayer. I'm not sure what we have. It's something. It got replaced. It's called an invocation, but it's not calling upon our higher authority. I'd like to respectfully ask, why this change was made? What prompted the decision to move away from a tradition that so many of our residents value? For generations, public bodies across this country have opened meetings with a simple prayer to acknowledge that we are not the highest authority, that we need humility. So I have to wonder, have we decided we can do it without God? Thank you.
Sir, before you go, can we get your name for the record, name and address, if that's okay?
Yeah, I'll just give it to her.
Well, for the public record.
Oh, Paul Bateman, 914 Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Yep. Appreciate it. All right, who's next? Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. Bill Harrison, resident of Woodward Side subdivision. Just to play on what Paul said, I can remember years ago, we used to have a guest pastor or rabbi give the invocation, and we got away from that and let the commission do it. And I fully support what he said. Something needs to be done to regulate these e-bikes and scooters. They should be regulated like the mopeds were several years ago. They go as fast as the mopeds went. And allowing them to ride on the sidewalks is ludicrous. And this includes these little scooters. You see these little kids riding scooters that go 20 miles an hour. And they come out of nowhere. I mean, I shudder every time I back out of my driveway. I stop before I cross the sidewalk and look both ways. And even then, as you're backing out, one of those little guys can come zipping by. It's scary. And it's not only e-bikes. I was nearly hit by a bicycle on the corner of 6th and Washington this weekend. And bicycles are prohibited on the sidewalk downtown. And when you call someone's attention to that, you either get the middle finger or you know what it's like. But this particular bicycle was one of these that are built with the front end extension to carry children as opposed to something that goes behind. And as he was going down Washington and passing 6th Salon, this whole thing stuck out into the 6th Street area. He couldn't even see me. And it was lucky I wasn't hit. But we've got to do something about these e-bikes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Anybody else tonight? General public comment? Yes, ma'am.
My address is 2440 Parmenter. I wanted to talk about the possible Kroger going in at 14 Mile. I've actually had 2 hit and run accidents right in front of that area, so I'm slightly concerned about traffic. And it's very scary. I have like PTSD every time I drive by. And I'm also concerned about the environmental impact as well. Light pollution, another gas station, and we're getting that big fancy one right down the road, so I don't know if we need another one. And I'm just overall concerned about the giantness of it and just the amount of chaos it's gonna bring to the neighborhoods that are just behind that. So that's it. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Beery. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Kearney. I live at 602 Wilson in Royal Oak. I am also the co-owner of Sidetrack Bookshop in downtown Royal Oak. I wanted to express my support for the goals of the Royal Oak Community Coalition for the Unhoused, including the development of a comprehensive and community-wide response to the extreme weather and transition of the Welcome Inn to a 24-hour emergency shelter. I want to thank and commend Commissioner Bastian for inviting me to the meeting last week about this issue and for the work that he has done to move the issue forward. I also want to note my deep appreciation for the participation of so many from the city, including our new city manager, Mr. Marcus, the chiefs of police and fire, the fire marshal, and many others in that event, expressing their deep concern for the most vulnerable in our neighborhoods. I also wanted to say that Sidetrack, the bookshop, celebrated our 4th anniversary this weekend. And which was delightful, but even given that we have been here for 4 years, today I had 2 different customers come into the store that were brand new customers, had never been in before, who I got to talking, and who both told me that they had not been to Royal Oak until now because of the parking. And my argument about parking in Royal Oak has always been to talk about the wonderful parking structures, one of which is about a half a block from my store. And as I'm sure you all know, those discussions about the misperceptions of parking in downtown Royal Oak have very recently become so much better with the removal of the back-in parking on Washington. But I am aware about the problems with the Center Street parking garage. And so what I'm here today to say is that I am very concerned that we don't have a plan for what we're going to do to make up for that parking in the process of that transition. There needs to be a plan, and there needs to be a way to communicate that plan to the public. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So to be as concise as possible, I'm going to read directly from an email that I sent to the mayor a couple of weeks ago, but yet to have received a response. My name's Greg Margenthaler. I'm a resident of 906 Fernwood Road. I've lived there for the past 13 years. The nearby street of Crane Avenue remains unpaved for 2 blocks between Ferndale and Lockwood and Ferndale and Forestdale. While the responsibility of paving these side streets have been legally and financially thrust upon the 4 corner homeowners, the impacts extend far beyond the handful of homes directly adjacent to these streets, which would be required to pay for the paving, not to mention many of those homes are currently rental homes. The most significant concern is the dust generated by the traffic on these unpaved roads. During dry periods, the dust becomes very severe. Children in the neighborhood are often unable to play outside, especially right now. It's very uncomfortable. Many families, including my own, are forced to keep our windows closed, even during pleasant weather times like this, as the dust infiltrates our homes. It's not simply an inconvenience, it's a quality of life and a public health issue affecting dozens of households in the surrounding area, not to mention the elevated use and need of AC. Just had to close my windows today and turn the air conditioning on because the dust was so extensive. It's a waste of energy resources. I had previously raised this at a city council meeting, and I was directed to send an email, which I did. I didn't get a response. That's fine. So I wanted to bring it up in hopes that you guys would really listen. The negative effects of these roads are not limited to these properties in my neighborhood. The dust, the traffic, it reduces the quality of life, and it's a broader radius of residents who receive no meaningful voice in the decision, despite bearing many of the consequences. I would also ask you to consider the long-term financial perspective. The city currently pays for road grading, I assume, and maintenance on these unpaved streets multiple times a year, at least twice a year that I recognize on my street. Over the 13 years, I've resided at 906 Fernwood Road, and presumably much earlier than that, this will continue indefinitely until the roads are paved. Had these streets been paved years ago, many of this ongoing maintenance expense could have been avoided. Continuing to expend taxpayer dollars on temporary maintenance rather than permanent solutions does not appear to be an effective use of public resources. This extends beyond Crane Avenue, obviously. There are numerous unpaved residential streets throughout Royal Oak facing similar challenges. I believe this extends an opportunity for you all, the city, to make meaningful improvements in the investments of the health, the safety, and the quality of life of residents across multiple neighborhoods. I know, I'm almost done. The community issue and the solution should reflect the broader public benefit that paved roads provide. I know I'm out of time, but I have voted for all you guys repeatedly over the years. I recognize your names. We support you, and we will continue to. We just ask that you make a meaningful benefit to the residents for the health and the quality of life. And like, I'd love to have my windows open right now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, in the back.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This is a good news thing. My name's Rod Barnes. I live at 674 West Meadowview Drive, West Virginia, Lost City, West Virginia, to be exact.
My name is Joseph Thompson. I live at 1736 Columbia Road, Northwest, Washington, D.C.
And we're here with the organization called American Bloom, of which we're spending a great deal of time looking at your community and particularly your downtown with Isaac. And American Bloom is a nonprofit organization. We're national. I'm the past president of the board of directors. I'm an advisor, have been with them since 2007. We go out and we help communities to be better. You have a lot that you can celebrate, but we can always learn to do better. I'm a town administrator by profession, so I am excited to be on this side of the speaker instead of sitting up there like you folks. But we're having fun. We've spent the day downtown. We've enjoyed going to some of your restaurants. We're staying at one of your amazing revitalized hotels in downtown, the Royal Oak. And we just can't wait to see what's going to happen tomorrow. We'll give you a report at the end of this time that we're here that will give you even more recommendations on how you can maybe make even more improvements. We were here 2 years ago and gave you a long list, and Isaac's worked on a lot of the recommendations in that report, and we hope that you'll be able to do the same.
And we just want to say thank you again for hosting us, and Isaac has done an amazing job making us feel welcome here. We do have flyers. Can we give these to you, or do we have them?
Yeah, if you hand them to the clerk, she'll distribute them right down to us.
Excellent.
We do a national symposium once a year. This year is our 25th anniversary celebration for American Bloom, and we're in Washington, D.C. as we explore the wonderful sights and sounds of the Capitol. We go out to communities in afternoon and we see some of the wonderful things that they're doing because we look at environment, we look at overall impression, we look at community vitality, urban forestry, floral, landscaping, community involvement. And so those are the areas that we focus on, and that's the areas that you learn about at the symposium. We'd invite any of you to attend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. All right. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening, David Bazinski from 4012 Coolidge Highway. First, I'd like to echo the comments made about Principal John Griswack. He was an outstanding principal at Upton Elementary School for the 6 years that my son was there, and I appreciate you giving him the honor that you did tonight, and he's going to have very big shoes to fill, and I'm sure that Ms. Szymanski will do a great job in that role. So thank you for giving him that honor tonight. As to my general comments, now that the Center Street parking deck is being demolished, I would encourage the commission to resist the temptation to redevelop that property and perhaps turn it into a surface level parking deck, or a parking lot, excuse me, and maybe make it free for residents. Ever since we lost our on-street parking, downtown hasn't been what it was, and I think that would absolutely help to serve the downtown businesses, those that are reliant on street traffic in particular. And since we're paying taxes to fund it, the residents of this town deserve to have a functional animal shelter. What we have now doesn't have regular hours and is rarely open. The shelter used to be run by a dedicated group of volunteers, and they seem to do a much better job than the paid city employees running it now. We had a stray cat bring us 8 kittens a couple summers ago, and I couldn't get them to return a phone call. No matter what time we called, they didn't answer, and they never called us back. I don't know why the shelter is such a dysfunctional mess, but it needs to be sorted, especially with all of the funding that is going to be coming into that organization. Maybe contact some of the old volunteers that were taken out of that place a few years ago. I'm sure they'd love to help. And finally, the city needs to stop providing tax abatements to developers who provide political contributions to the mayor and the commission. The ethics ordinance for the city officials need to be rewritten in the most robust way to ensure that our elected officials are acting in our best interests and not their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bazinski. All right, who's next? Anybody? Anybody? All right, we're going to close general public comment and bring the meeting back to this side of the table. Next is the consent agenda. All righty. Does anyone wish to pull anything off tonight's consent agenda? Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the receive and file, there's an update on waste collection services from Mr. Yee. I was hoping we could talk about that.
Okay, that would be RA, correct? Okay, anybody else? All right, does anyone wish to move tonight's consent agenda with the exception of RA? We have a motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gantina. Discussion. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. All right, let's go with RA, Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's been highly publicized that priority waste has been maybe negligent in some of their duties to collect waste from our communities. I think that's been an issue. And we received a report from Mr. Yee, and I think it'd be really good to highlight that and some of the problems we've faced and the solutions that the city has, and talk about, we have about less than a year left in our current contract with them. And we actually contract out with SACRA, so I think there's a lot of good information here for us and our public as we continue to talk about how to most effectively pick up waste and hold people accountable when they fall behind.
Great, thank you. And because it's such an important issue, I did prepare a presentation to discuss it this evening. I wanted to recognize that we have both Eric Griffin, the General Manager for SACRA, and we also have Sam Carmagno from Priority Waste. Start off with going through a few of the contract and kind of the background information. So SACRA, as you had mentioned, Commissioner Colo, SACRA holds the waste collection contract with Priority Waste for Royal Oak, and Royal Oak and SACRA then also have a contract that covers that service. SACRA is a board of local communities of which we are a voting member of that board. They run the waste hauling, recycling, and everything for all of our communities. The current waste hauling contract, as you had mentioned, well, it took effect in July of 2007, and it expires in 2027. The contract originally, actually, we'll go back a little further, was with Rizzo Services, and then GFL took over that contract from them, and then Priority Waste took that over in July of 2024. SACRA will be looking to solicit proposals for a competitive RFP process soon for the anticipation of the expiration in 2027. Most recently, we've had some ongoing failures from Priority Waste, and as you had noted, it's well documented, and we've received a lot of calls in the Public Services Department on these. It impacted our city operations. I know our clerks, the call volume went up about 300%. It was probably about five weeks ago. It was a week after Memorial Weekend is when it started, and for a couple weeks there, it really consumed our staff. So it did impact our operations as far as that goes. Our staff was, kind of stretching their hours and moving some things around to make it work. Then we're going to go through kind of the status of the enforcement issues that SACRA has done on our behalf. This kind of shows the graph here shows the portal entries per day, and you can see during that period the portal entries went much higher than they typically had been, where we were up to over 160 for one day of portal entries. So the portal, just so we all kind of know, is the system that Priority Waste uses to document complaints, missed pickups, any issue with collection. It's kind of been an ongoing issue, the portal in general, because it isn't boots on the ground supervisor. So I'll talk about that in a little bit, but that is kind of how it's been tracked since Priority Waste has taken over the contract. This service levels have been sporadic. We add into the presentation here since February of 2025, because that's when I began. But I think kind of since Priority has taken over, there was a combination of a learning curve of taking it over, and then the issue of not having direct supervision and having this portal system. In June of 2025, SACRA had applied $33,000 in penalties to Priority Waste for some of the delinquencies in the collection. over the last several weeks, which is again probably a few weeks ago now, or probably a month ago now, there were a lot of miscollection, and that happened not just in Royal Oak, but that happened region-wide. There was some issues with gearing up for yard waste collection, and some issues that came along with that on the priority side. So I'll talk a little bit about that, or I'll allow them the opportunity to talk about that if they want to at the end. It caused a lot of disruption in our operation, so much so we were sending crews out to pick up missed collections and things like that. So it did divert not just in excess of calls and kind of consuming our time that way, but we actually had staff go out and pick up collection. Our residents deserve to have that level of service where their waste is collected, so we wanted to offer that as much as possible. SACRA did issue a formal notice of breach of contract and stipulated penalties. What the residents experienced, there was missed trash recycling and yard waste pickups. Most notably, yard waste pickups were behind a day or two, and at some points, trash was behind a day. There were some times when they missed entire areas or entire neighborhoods. It wasn't just like a one-off miss, it was in whole sections. Obviously, that increased the call volume, and I think most importantly, the erosion of public confidence. And I know that's something we all talk about. Our goal is to provide great customer service, and it was difficult to tell people, sorry, yeah, it was missed, and yeah, we'll get to it, but it wasn't a good. It didn't leave us with a good feeling and allow us to provide the customer service that we all want to provide and our residents expect. The impact to Royal Oak is during that 2-week period, there were about 1,215 documented issues, the largest among the affected communities in SACRA. We spent a substantial amount of time responding to those and impacted our other priorities and services. So SACRA enforcement, we had worked closely with Eric Griffin and Bob Davis, their attorney, on how we can, basically get this rectified, and the best way was through our contract and the contractual obligation that Priority Waste had. So we assessed penalties based on the contract, and the route completion penalties were assessed, formal corrective action was demanded, and contract termination remains an option based on the contract. The financial impact, the amount that of penalties that were assessed were, for Royal Oak itself, were $212,625. Total SACRA communities were $299,425. The credits were proposed to be applied against future invoices. I know after the last commission meeting, Commissioner Cole had mentioned, we have a SACRA bill on here. How are we paying this? Are we paying SACRA in full? We did deduct the amount of $212,625 from our last SACRA bill, which we pay them twice monthly. So we did reduce that amount, or we did reduce the SACRA payment by that amount. There would be no direct city budget adjustment required for that at this point. Actions taken, regular communications with SACRA and Priority Waste, including daily rosters and service updates. So every morning we get the roster of what trucks are going to be in our city, what drivers are on them, how many, and then at the end of the day we get an update with how much of Royal Oak was completed, and we track that every single day. Again, we've had crews assist where possible. In general, those have been missed pickups, individual missed pickups, not the whole sections that they had missed. I will say over the last couple weeks, they have been 100% complete with all of their routine collections. So, they seem to have been up to date there. Everything's been documented and escalated, and community updates have been provided as we go. The Priority Waste response. So I will say they had a new CEO appointed on June 1st. That CEO did attend the SACRA meeting on June 10th, which was right in the midst of a lot of our issues. He had a lot of promises and commitments, most notably to add trucks, staff, and supervision, additional supervisor to be assigned, including a logistics manager, which is a route manager, which has been my biggest complaint. Instead of going through the portal and waiting 24 to 48 hours for a response, I want a supervisor on site who can address our issues that day. And performance improvements were promised. So since he's been there was only, I believe, one day that they were behind in yard waste. So I think some improvements have been noticed. They have been getting through the portal now, which for that period of time they were not getting through the portal, which is when we came and assisted to get through those misses. So we have seen improvements to date. They've committed and have stated that they have ordered and are receiving new and more trucks regularly. And again, I will let them speak to that if we so desire. What happens next, and this is just our monitoring, evaluating, continuing to document any issues and exploring alternate providers if necessary. So we are actively involved in this. I want to assure the community this has taken a great deal of time and energy from myself and a bunch of our staff here. We are routinely watching, evaluating, making calls, and Eric and I were talking regularly when this was happening. So, and now I will ask for any questions, discussion, feedback, and including Eric and Sam are both here and available to answer any questions as well.
Maybe I'll ask the first question, Mr. Yee. So, totally understand. You know, when you have big misses like that, we're the first point of contact, and you're right. The taxpayers in this community deserve the very best service. That's what we pride ourselves as always delivering the best, and I'm proud and happy that our crews went out and played cleanup. So there's a plan in place, and that takes time from us to, help look and validate the plan. What happens if we continue to see, other than the obvious that we'll continue to have to deal with calls and, expense to manage it, what happens after that? There's been a breach. Is there something that happens? Is there a backup plan? Is there something that, it can't be persistent. Yeah, maybe Eric, this is a better question for you. And I'm not ripping on the provider right now. I'm just trying to be the practical representation of 60,000 people.
Right. Good evening, Commissioner and Mr. Mayor. Pleasure to be here, except under these circumstances. We are looking at other alternatives. It's a tough environment right now. As Kevin mentioned, this isn't a Royal Oak Sacra problem. This is a regional problem at this point. Priority Waste serves 120 communities. So recently, communities have gone to bid, and one hauler has bid on them, Priority Waste. So Sacra has made a considerable effort right now to try to solicit outside haulers into this market. So that's something Bob Davis and I are actively working on. We have talked to some haulers about emergency services. So that would be what's on the table. But at this point, I think what we're going forward with, going out to bid, for that July 1, 2027, and having some real bids come in, not just Priority Waste.
Is there any idea or thought, like you mentioned a little bit on this, but like having a sort of a contract for like a SWAT team of, that are helping out all the Sacra communities when they take the calls, they take whatever, and then bill that back to Priority Waste if they're the vendor or if it's somebody else in the future. It's like, hey, instead of the cities independently trying to coordinate this, there's 10 trucks out there that go and make it happen, deal with the calls, and are more accountable to the cleanup of the cleanup, if that makes sense. Has there been any thought given to that strategy?
Given to that, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how we can actually handle that. Royal Oak's a big city. There's a lot of garbage trucks in here every day servicing this community, and these other haulers don't have necessarily 10 idle trucks sitting around ready to perform that kind of service. So if we went that route, it's going to be expensive. That's just the fact of the matter. At this point, we're just more putting pressure and communication with priority. They did have this influx. They were sold. TPG in May, I think it was closed right around that June 1 timeframe when they brought in the new CEO. They had a huge influx of cash with that. They're obviously struggling financially. That was leading to this problem. So they had this huge influx of cash. You know, since we're the operator of the transfer station and the recycling center, we see what's coming in and out of that facility every day as far as the vehicles. We are seeing different priority trucks, new priority trucks, which was promised, and we are seeing that promise in action right now. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that and see if they can maintain service. It's been about 2 weeks that they have, but that post Memorial Day, it was a complete disaster. I mean, we had 2 weeks where it was really, really bad. But it was also pretty marked that was the time period that the wheels came off. They got their influx of cash, they got a new CEO, and we've seen an improvement from there, and we'll continue to push that we get the attention we deserve.
Questions? Commissioner Colo. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for being here tonight. I don't envy the new CEO coming in on June 1st, that this is hard, but it's the problem with private equity coming in and buying up someone. You got to fix the mess. So, Mr. Yee, I guess I'll ask, I saw we had 1,225, I believe, complaints registered in our portal. I've been a city commissioner for 6 years, and it was only 3 weeks ago I found out we had a portal. So I think we have a communication issue with how we let residents know that we actually have that portal, because I have to imagine that 1,225 is a small number when compared to the entire community. So is there a way we can send out a communication, a direct mailing, let's say, to every address serviced by priority at their expense to make sure that residents know if we've missed a date, a pickup, here's exactly who you contact, because I don't want your clerks being bombarded with these phone calls.
I understand that, and trust me, we have put it out there just on our website, but we actually like to talk to people. In normal circumstances, it's not that many. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what people's troubles are. I want to hear that. And my clerks do too. And they have been incredible through this. And they have the best attitude and the most amazing, I'll give a shout out to Lonnie, Shayna, and Amber in my office, but they are the most just pleasant people to talk to. They want to hear from people. I want to hear from people. I don't want people, honestly, just to go in the portal and enter things.
If that's the case, fine. Then can we send out a mailing saying, hey, call Kevin and his team at DPS and talk to them? I just think giving directions to our residents in some way lets them know, like, I've had this issue. The city knows this issue is happening. Here's how when I'm affected, what I can do about it. I think that's a good way to communicate to our residents as we ask them to approve a millage for solid waste in about 40 days. To continue paying for these services, that if for some reason priority has failed them, here's who they can call to get it fixed.
I'm not opposed to anything, and I can work with the city manager and talk about what our strategy is going to be for moving forward. So I'm not opposed to however we want to communicate with our residents and give them information, but we definitely don't want to just direct them to the portal. It's an option for them. Some people don't like to talk on the phone. They just want to do that. That's great. But we do like to talk to the residents and communicate with them and assure them of what the next steps are, not just enter something in the portal and it kind of goes away.
I'm one of the weird millennials that actually likes to pick up a phone and call people, so I'm fine with that. Just I want to make sure we have a strategy here because I do think that we've had entire sections miss of a neighborhood, and you might get only maybe a small fraction of people that report it. So the more data we have, I think that goes also to you base the chargeback to priority based on how many calls and registrations we had. So the more people call and register, the more we can actually catch this.
And our team has been pretty active and during that period, especially driving around and seeing what's out on the street and knowing what we're talking about when people call or when we're talking to Sakura or Priority or whatever. So, but we're definitely any way we can communicate better and get more information to the residents, I'm not opposed to.
I'll just add my thanks to your team also and Sakura and Priority for catching up and getting back. When it's working, and most of the time you don't even notice it, right? So I know this has been tough, challenging. We overcome it, and we will continue to provide for the residents.
All right. Well, I'll leave it. If Priority wants to come up and say anything you're not obligated to, I would never make you feel like you're obligated to, because it can help and hurt you. So it's up to you. Plead the fifth, or if you have something to say, we'd more than happy to hear it.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Sam Caramagno with Priority Waste. Certainly like to apologize for the delay in service and the service. It's not what you expect. It's really not what we expect to give you. We have made some improvements here in the short term, and we continue to put improvements out on the street to ensure that you're getting the service that you deserve and we expect. So thank you for hearing me tonight. Thank you for Kevin's explanation. It is accurate, and it's a path forward for us. So thank you very much.
Questions? Okay. Thank you, Sam. All right. So I'll just add, things always happen, right? We can't solve an issue we're not aware of. Like what Commissioner Colo said, when things are going right, nobody thinks about it. But when things don't go right, that's where we're at an inflection point, and we either rise to the moment and show how good we are, or we squander an opportunity. So I hope Priority and everybody rises to the opportunity here to show that, hey, problems are going to happen, and when they happen, we come out stronger and better, and that's what we look forward to. So, all right. Do we have to receive and file this one? Do you want to do a motion to receive and file this? Or I shouldn't say do you. Does anyone wish to make a motion to receive and file? Motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hunt. Discussion on this motion. All right. With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion is received and filed. All right, this next one is one of the public hearings on the adoption of the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget General Appropriations Act. Mr. DeCamp, we have you listed here as the one to kick us off.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm going to actually kick it over to start with to Colleen from the Woodhill Group, currently serving as our interim finance director.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. We're pleased to present the budget to you. The budget presented to you this evening aligns with the Commissioner's strategic goals and feedback from the Commission after its 3 budget workshops. The figures have been vetted by the finance team and are the culmination of multiple requests, discussions, and reviews by your department heads. The budget resolution, we're also pleased to tell you that we think we've increased the readability and understandability of the budget. The budget resolution separates your recurring from your non-recurring revenues and expenditures. There are 2 items to note in the general fund. So you have a one-time $1,675,000 transfer of one-time revenues into the general fund that are helping to offset the $3.5 million recurring budget deficit, right, of your recurring expenditures. Also, based on your last 4 years of history, we added a credit in your recurring personnel cost of $500,000. So this is a new movement for this budget. But what it means is that if you stay at full staffing and you don't have any attrition, we would need to utilize reserves to cover that $500,000. So we used your 4-year history where you're not always at full staffing, right? And so we built that in for you. The other thing that we want to make sure that we call out to you is that the transfer into the general fund is from monies that the general fund had given. 1.5 million is from monies that the general fund had given to the parking structure. So we are anticipating the parking fund, the auto parking fund, will close 2026 and 2027 with a deficit. And that deficit should be able to be made up. We know that there are plans for rate increases for parking and some other changes possibly to your capital structure. The golf course and the ice arena investments have been placed on hold pending further strategic discussions. And the commission has identified $3.2 million of one-time revenues that are identified for future capital projects. And the final budget book will be made available to the public once approved by the commission. And I think those are the only comments that I wanted to make sure that we revisited with you. All in all, it's been a great process. Thank you.
Any questions?
I'm going to turn this back over to Tony, if you don't mind. We have made some changes in this budget document for you, but we have some other changes coming out of the finance department as well that we think will help increase the readability, transparency, get us to a budget that's not coming to you on June 22nd. So I'm going to turn it over.
Thank you. Yeah, so as Colleen mentioned, we've identified several opportunities to strengthen some finance-related processes. One of the areas we're focusing on is ensuring that any needed budget amendments are made when the related purchase or project is being requested at the commission level. So doing so by better utilizing the budget section of the commission letters as they're already kind of set up for. We're also working to simplify the overall budget development process, better plan throughout the year so that we are able to bring the resolution to you before June. And then on the purchasing side, we're implementing changes that will provide better contract tracking, stronger controls, and closer coordination with budget. So these updates will help ensure purchases and the budget expectations stay aligned throughout the process. And finally, we've already started reviewing some finance-related software, the processes within them, but also just the softwares in general. So as you saw in the consent agenda, our review of the purchasing software led to a recommendation that both lowers the ongoing costs and improves functionality. So, and then within BS&A, our main financial management software, we've also identified several opportunities to automate and enhance just various finance-related processes. So that's all I have really, so thank you for your time, and if you have any questions on any of that, then I'm happy to take them.
Any questions for Mr. DeCamp at this moment? All right, thank you, Mr. DeCamp, appreciate it. All right, I think what I'll do now is open up the public hearing. So same rules apply as to public comment, apply to the public hearing. So the public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak tonight at this public hearing? I see Ms. Wagman with her hand up.
At least we're not after sheets at 11:30 this year. Good evening. I'd like to make a few comments about financial accountability and priorities. Tonight, you're considering a budget that includes fee increases, proposed millage increases, and ongoing concerns about the city's long-term financial position. One of the city's own strategic goals is long-term fiscal health, and that's something I hope remains front and center as the budget moves forward. Over the years, residents have seen a number of expenditures that raise legitimate questions about priorities and outcomes. Examples include expending on the YMCA feasibility and design work, planning and design costs for a new animal shelter that still hasn't been built, restroom planning efforts that never resulted in a permanent facility, expenditures on the Center Street parking structure that is now being demolished, a previous parking system that was replaced after parking revenue losses and to the detriment of the downtown, and millions of dollars transferred to support ongoing parking fund deficits. Further discussed in the budget workshops, efforts to pursue a sports and wellness facility, even though the project was not identified as a priority during the city's ARPA community engagement process, and despite having delayed needed repairs and updates on existing facilities. As well as hearing that the court system has been placing a substantial burden on the general fund, information that was not apparent to residents who were unable to attend. I'm not saying every project has to work out exactly as planned. Sometimes circumstances change. Sometimes projects don't move forward. That's part of government. But every one of those examples involved taxpayer dollars. So my concern is that without measurable objectives and follow-up reporting, Residents and you have no way of knowing what other projects achieved their goals, fell short of expectations, or failed to produce the results that were originally promised. As residents are being asked to pay more money, it becomes even more important that expenditures are carefully scrutinized and clearly justified. When programs, initiatives, studies, or capital projects are proposed, residents should be able to understand the problem being addressed, the expected outcome, how success will be measured, how progress will be reported, and whether the project or program ultimately achieve the goals used to justify that expenditure, and whether the results support making similar investments in the future. I hope you'll keep this in mind as you go forward with this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. All right, anybody else? Mr. Harrison.
Thank you. I attended the budget sessions, and I was quite impressed by the consultant that you hired. I'm concerned about the list of the policies, specifically the one to maintain at least a AA negative bond rating. You know, when my wife Laura was on the commission many years ago, we had a AAA bond rating. I think we're undershooting here. I'm also concerned about the golf course, and I suggest that somebody take a look at sinking wells. We've got a pretty high water table here, and it seems that the water bill is the biggest problem with the golf course. And I continue to be concerned about why you continue to give TIF tax breaks to developers for 30 years for buildings where only a portion of the units are for low-income tenants. And then I understand that there is consideration for a millage as a way to cover future revenue shortfall as a part of the budget planning. This considered millage is an end run to have the residents supplement low-income housing. I object. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Anybody else? Yes, in the back.
Good evening again. With respect to the budget, I'd like to thank the city for ending the porta potty contract that was the city was spending $6,000 a month on. It should be noted that in 2020, the city's own estimate of the cost of installing permanent restrooms was about $231,000. And in the intervening years, we have spent $160,000 on porta potties instead of building a permanent facility. I imagine should we choose to build one at this point, they're going to cost a lot more than they would have in 2020. Our budget has some increased funding for roads, which is good. It would be nice to see those funds directed towards repairing crumbling residential streets instead of narrowing 11 Mile, which somehow costs more than just repaving the road would cost. And for the record, 11 Mile was in just fine shape compared to some of the other roads in this town that look like the Romans built them. The people should also know that the city is increasing what's called a ready-to-serve fee on our water bills by 85%. That fee will generate about $2 million per year from residential water customers before they've used a drop of water. In fact, the list of fees that the city charges on tonight's consent agenda is about a dozen pages long. If you go to City Hall to pay a bill, they charge you a fee just for taking your money, even if you pay in cash. The comments made earlier about the overall budget were not surprising to me, because I do know that we have a structural deficit in this city, despite the fact that it's regularly bragged about how our budget is balanced. It's balanced because it has to be. We all know this. And I do wonder if any efforts at all are made during the budget process with respect towards efficiency in any level of the city government. Over the past several years, the number of city employees has increased significantly, mostly in administrative positions. We're not hiring police and fire, and a few of those positions are very well paid. Every year our property taxes go up, fees go up, and the spending goes up. The question people have to ask themselves is, are we getting good value for our money? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who's next? Going once, going twice. All right, we're going to close the public hearing, bring the meeting back to this side of the table. So this process, to remind fellow commissioners, is a little lengthy. We have a lot of different types of resolutions we have to approve here. Before we start, I'd like to thank staff and thank this commission. And for those commissioners that aren't here tonight, we spent a lot of hours, like we do every year, poring over the numbers in detail, having tough discussions, figuring out how we're going to set the year up and how we're going to set the subsequent years up. And it's always a good process. And to remind everybody, this is a budget. This is just to say what we are going or plan to spend based on our best forecasts. It doesn't mean we're actually going to spend it. It doesn't mean we're not going to get surprises and have amendments. It's a plan. And I think it's important to understand that. So, all right. Does anyone want to kick off the conversation or kick off the resolutions? I'm going to defer to my colleagues here. Commissioner Colo?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, this is my sixth or seventh budget I've sat at this table for. I think you've sat at the table for a couple more than that too. And, you know, every year we see these numbers come in and, you know, you have to take a step back and remember we're a $250 million organization. That's $250 million that we manage on behalf of the 60,000 residents and businesses in the community of WROK. And you know, that's an awesome responsibility that we have. And I think, you know, as I spoke about my invocation tonight, we do this to make sure that we continue to provide the best possible services. That's all that we do. We make sure that we give people exactly what they need to make sure we continue to have a thriving and amazing community. Every year from my time up here, we've always thought we would go into fund balance spending, and just about every year we don't. We pick up efficiencies as the year goes on. And I appreciate that our staff comes to us with some, you know, worst case scenarios. That's how you have to plan. You have to plan for the rainy days. And then when the sun shines out, everything's good. So, you know, I had a buddy who grew up on a dairy farm, and they used to say, you know, when the sun's out, make hay. And we've been really good at making hay over the last several years. And that's why we continue to be in a good position. We've maintained our bond ratings over the years. That's why our policy statements that we have are the same policy statements just about we've had since 2006, which is a best measure for our rating agencies. Without those financial policies, our ratings would be lower. So we use those financial policies as one of the backbones to the audit that we have, to the different entities that we go through. Because we're a professional organization and we have a huge department, the finance department, going through and making sure that we are continuing to use the money correctly. So I do appreciate all the work that staff put into making this happen. And I know that as the year goes on, there will be some things that come up that we need to spend money on that we weren't expecting to, and then other things that will come up that we had thought we'd spend more on than we actually did. And that happens, that's cyclical, it happens every year. It's how we respond to it is what really makes up the character of the community. So with that being said, though, we have 9 resolutions in front of us that we have to, I believe, is there a roll call vote on each one? Madam Clerk? Yes? Okay. So I guess to get through these 9 resolutions and to the rest of the business for the night, I will move to pass Resolution 1.
Okay, we have a motion to pass Resolution 1. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gantina. Discussion on the resolution. All right, I'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with the motion maker, Commissioner Colo. Yes. Commissioner Hunt. Yes. Commissioner Gantina. Yes. Commissioner Bastian. Yes. And I vote yes. Okay. All right, Resolution 2, set the tax rates. Commissioner Bastian?
I have a motion to approve Resolution 2.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bastian. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hunt. Discussion on the motion. Okay, we'll start with the motion maker, Commissioner Bastian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gantina.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt. Yes. I vote yes. Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
All right. Resolution 3, authorize tax administrative fee. Commissioner Gantina.
I move to approve Resolution 3, the authorization of the tax administration fee.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gantina. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bastian. Discussion. I'll just add that collecting, resolving, working with the county does take headcount. Every organization in the world that collects revenue has an accounts receivable department And by statute, we have to have an administrative fee to do that. So with that, I'll call for the vote. Roll call. We'll start with the motion maker, Commissioner Gantina. Yes. Commissioner Hunt. I vote yes. Commissioner Colo. Yes. Commissioner Bastian.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 4, water and sewage disposal rates. Commissioner Hunt.
I move to approve Resolution 4, water and sewage disposal rates.
All right, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. Discussion. Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I heard the connection fee come up tonight. I think it's important to point out that we have hundreds and hundreds of miles of pipes below the city. Every time a road comes up, we replace those pipes also because some of them are over 100 or 100 years old or so. And we know that they've lived their lifetime. We've also gone through great lengths to make sure that we can extend the lifetime. Ms. Donahue recently brought to the City Commission a solution to add about 50 years of lifespan to some of the pipes depending on their age and condition. That being said though, just delivering water and just taking it away, and then water in any source, water that you flush under the toilet or water when it rains and it sheds off your property into our sewers, costs money. And that goes to a provider who then cleans it and makes sure that we can drink it again. That costs us no matter what. If you don't use a dime, you need the water to be able to be taken away from the city and to get to you at any given time. So that's where our ready to serve fee comes from. The fact that we all are users of the water system and all these pipes and all these connections take money at a given time. I know also I get a question every year, hey, can we get irrigation lines? I think people would love to have an irrigation line. The logic there is that I'm putting water into my grass and I shouldn't have to pay the sewage on that because we bill for every one use of water, you get 2 uses, double for the sewage rate. But that's because that's how we are charged by the Great Lakes Water Authority, and we have no control over that. So if we were to add a irrigation line for someone and not charge them for the sewage, that just means everyone else in the community would be charged because Great Lakes Water Authority only charges us for the water that they deliver. They don't have a meter to measure water going out. So that's how they charge us. We pass those charges along to our rate customers. So every time Great Lakes Water Authority raises their rates, we also have to raise the rates to match that. This is not a money-making item. The money is a enterprise fund. It only goes back into the water system. So every dime that we collect here just goes back to making sure that we have safe and reliable water and sewage at any given time. So I think that's important to point out. It's a hard thing to understand, but this is only paid to fix pipes.
Yeah, great point, Commissioner Colo. And just add that most of them, like I don't want to say the percentage, most of our sewer lines and stormwater lines are combined under the Coon Drain System, which the 12 cities, they saved some money in the late 60s by combining sewer and water together. Unfortunately, it means we have to clean every bit of stormwater that goes into the sewers, which is not great. But a simpler way for people to take away is that we are a pass-through entity. So whether it's the Coon Drain System or it's the Great Lakes Water Authority, we get billed a certain way and we have to figure out how to bill our water customers in this city. And a vast majority of what we're seeing today from the Great Lakes Water Authority is a fixed cost. The water is free. It's getting sucked out of the lake. There's a little bit of variable costs. I mean, they treat it a little bit. They have some variable expenses, but a vast majority of it is a fixed cost. A vast majority of what we do, water main repairs and maintenance and all of that stuff, is pretty steady fixed, whether you use 1 drop of water or a bazillion drops of water. So, and our fee, when we benchmarked it, raising the fee, this fixed part of it is still lower than a vast majority of communities. So we have to put it into context. And we have a job here about fairness and equity. And so we can't be billing customers something that we're not in a different way than how collectively we're being billed as a city. So it's a change for sure, but it's a reflection of increasing costs coming from the Great Lakes Water Authority. So we're being more responsible about how we're structuring this. All right, we do have a motion on the table, and I'll call for the vote. We'll start with the motion maker, Commissioner Hunt. Yes. I vote yes. Commissioner Colo. Yes. Commissioner Bastian. Yes. Commissioner Gantina.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 5, purchases. Commissioner Colo.
Move approval of Resolution 5.
Motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gantina. Discussion. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Colo?
Yes.
Commissioner Bastian?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantina?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt? And I vote yes. Okay, Resolution 6, purchasing. Commissioner Bastian.
I move for approval of Resolution 6 for purchasing.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hunt. Discussion? All right, I'll start with motion maker, Commissioner Bastian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gantina?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt? I vote yes. Commissioner Colo?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 7, transfers. Commissioner Gantina.
Move to approve Resolution 7 on transfers.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gantina. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bastian. Discussion? Start with the motion maker, Commissioner Gantina.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
I vote yes. Commissioner Colo?
Yes.
Commissioner Bastian?
Yes.
All right. Is that Resolution 8, peg fees? Commissioner Hunt?
I move to approve Resolution 9, peg fees. I'm sorry, Resolution 8, peg fees.
All right, we have motion by Commissioner Hunt. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. Discussion? All right, with not, I'll start with the motion maker, Commissioner Hunt. I vote yes. Commissioner Colo?
Yes.
Commissioner Bastian?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantina?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 9, financial policies. Commissioner Colo.
I move Resolution 9.
We have motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bastian. Discussion? Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, I think we need a vote to approve these tonight. I think they're important to have. I do think too, we can take next year before the next budget approval process, and I hope we can take a deeper look into some of these policies and just make sure that they align with our needs of today. I know a lot of them, like I said before, rose from 2006, and I think it's been a long 20 years. We've reaffirmed them, we've modified them from time to time, but as we staff up and make sure we have a full finance department, a city manager, I think it's a good time to reevaluate these before the next budget.
Yep, good point. All right, any other discussion? The motion maker was Commissioner Colo. So we'll start with Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Bastian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gantina.
Yes.
And Commissioner Hunt. And I vote yes. Okay. All right, we got through that. And I think you made a really good point. There are there are a number of initiatives that we discussed during the budget process that did not make their way into the budget because they have yet to be fully tested on their validity. Okay, there's a couple different routes we can go. So on a myriad of different things. So we are very optimistic, like we are every year, that we're going to tackle all of those ideas and we will find success in most of them, and that will either bring additional revenues to us or reduce expense significantly. That is why we've held that rainy day fund in the range of our policy for such a long time. Headley has hurt us up to $44 million. We should have been expecting more in this budget. For those of you who don't know what the Headley Amendment is, I suggest you research it and call your state senator and state rep and see if we can get a change to that. But this is nothing new. We invest in our priorities. A vast majority, if you read the budget today, are spent on public safety. That means our police officers, fire, and EMS that show up every time you call 911. Of course, we have a road millage, we have waste disposal, parks, and so forth. But a vast majority of the tax dollar, when you write that tax bill, about half of it goes to us, the city, and almost a vast majority of that goes to basic public safety and some services like DPS and whatnot. So keep in mind what our priorities are in this city. All right, so that brings us to, I take, since Mr. Hedges is here, Mr. DeCamp has validated that we've accomplished every goal with the budget. Okay, thank you, sir. And a big thanks to our consultant and to staff and everybody that worked on the budget, those who came to public comment. We really appreciate it. And the budget is not done. It is a living, breathing creature, and we'll be working on it every week here at this table, every other week. All right, so that brings us to item 4, which is public hearing on Brownfield Plan at 414 East Hudson Avenue. Mr. Hedges.
Yes, before you this evening is a Brownfield Plan for 414 East Hudson Avenue. The Brownfield Redevelopment Authority has reviewed the plan and recommended its adoption by the City Commission. The petitioner, which is Activate, is a marketing agency currently located in Ferndale. They're proposing to take the property, again, at 414 East Hudson Avenue, and redevelop this former material recovery facility into offices and a fabrication facility for their marketing agency. The proposed plan would have a duration of 22 years. Reimbursements to the petitioner for eligible cost would be made during the first 18 years, and the last 4 would be reserved for transfers to the city's Brownfield Revolving Loan Fund. The total eligible cost recommended by the BRA are $863,462, which also includes an applicable interest rate of 1.75. The eligible activities proposed within the plan include environmental assessments, removal of contaminated soils, industrial cleaning, vapor mitigation, sampling, and demolition. The plan as proposed would capture only local millage rates. There'd be no capture of school millage rates. Therefore, no approvals from the state would be required for this plan. It would only require your adoption this evening. As required under state law, the plan has been noticed for a public hearing at this night's meeting. Notices for that hearing were sent to all the other taxing jurisdictions as required under state law. The petitioner is here this evening. They would like to provide some further details on the plan, and I will turn it over to them at this time.
Good evening. Thank you for your consideration. My name is Kirsten Craig. I'm the CEO of Activate. We are an experiential marketing agency that currently is located in Ferndale and are very, very excited to make Royal Oak our new headquarter home. So to kind of give you just a little overview about Activate, if you want to go to some of the next pages, we are an agency that supports many different types of industries. We are very excited about our relocation specifically because not only are we we are a woman-owned agency, but we are also one of the only experiential agencies in Metro Detroit that does not currently serve the auto industry. And with that, we support many different industries from retail to commercial. We just finished a mobile tour with Toto Toilets. We work with Delta Airlines. And all of these clients have come to our headquarters currently in Ferndale to meet with us. We need a new home where we can bring them, entertain them, and show them why we love the Metro Detroit area. So with that being the case, we're looking to build a showcase of our work and a showcase of the client work that we've done together at our new location on East Hudson. This building takes quite a bit of creative vision to imagine what we're planning to do with it. It is currently in what we think is one of the best locations in all of the city because it is close to the majority of our employees' homes. We'll talk about them in just a bit, but it is also walkable to all of the different entertainment, restaurants, and coffee shops and workout facilities that are in the current neighborhood. With this, we also it is in total eyesore. It is loud. It has trucking that's coming in every day. It vibrates when they process all of the actual recycling material coming through the space. And Activate now will be calming that down and really making this a beautiful place to work and hopefully a better neighbor for all of the tenants in our area. From a building community standpoint, I mentioned this, that about 80% of our employees live within about 15 miles of Royal Oak. We see this as a true opportunity to build community. We're very excited because we did just close on the building and we are doing a local neighborhood crawl on Wednesday with a ribbon cutting at our parking lot. So we're very excited about that, and I hope our wild team is very looking forward to getting to go to lots of the different places as we crawl around Royal Oak. This is us at some of our employees at a barcode facility, but our intention really is to create massive amounts of economic impact as we plan not only social events, but stocking of our kitchen, the hosting of internal only events within our facility, and again, really driving a lot of community as we bring our more than 50 employees into the Royal Oak area. Our team is made of quite a few different types of creatives. We are a creative agency. All of our clients bring different types of creative challenges and projects to the Activate team. We don't do major fabrication within our space, but set design, floral design, and kit packing. Some of our clients, like our work with Walmart and Sam's Club and Elton John, have led us to create national and global events that will then again bring talent back to the Royal Oak area. We're also very proud that we have a new intern program this year with about 6 interns who have come from all of the different universities in our area as recent graduates who are working to earn a full-time position at Activate in the fall. From a service standpoint, to give an overview of the type of work we would be producing out of our facility, we produce in its simplest form live brand. We do events for corporate clients with a brand goal in mind. So from live events like our work with Disney, mailers, like I mentioned, Delta, this is one for Burberry for the US Open, and mobile tours like the one we just finished for Toto Toilet and for Coach, represent, again, a lot of creative energy and creative need for inspiration that we would be bringing to the community. It's also fun because locally, to see some of our work, most of our clients are out of state. However, locally, we work with both the Lions. This was our work that used, if any of you went down to the Detroit, to the draft when it was in Detroit, we produced the Lions exhibit and also produce all of the sponsorship material and events that happen at Pride Plaza, as well as many of the other experiential events that you'll see for the Lions. Delta represents another one of our long-term clients. We're excited about this case study, again, because of its global impact, as well as a showcase of a lot of the volume of work we'll be using our warehouse to support. So by cleaning up the space, we need a clean, quiet, safe workspace to be able to facilitate luxury gifting and premium gifting and kit packing for many of our clients. This not only is a showcase, but it's also a use, I would say, in our opinion, best use case of this commercial building, that we are not doing heavy, dirty industrial work. We are doing curated kit packing that requires tying a perfect bow and making sure that our Vince sneakers are handled with care. Other programs that we are currently doing that have a lot of energy on social media, on LinkedIn, is a lot of our work with Gen Z and our work with luxury retail. The reason that we take this, we're serious about this, is because, again, we have the heads of brand marketing and brand marketing from major corporations that will be visiting. Coach, we've been the experiential agency of Coach for the last 5 years, and they currently are going to be visiting us again this fall as we launch our next program. And as we look at the crystal ball analysis of why Royal Oak has been we're so excited to make Royal Oak our home, we need support in making sure that we have a clean space to work for all of this creative growth, because business is booming. We have a lot of opportunity to continue growing and are looking forward to this being our long-term headquarters. So with a relocation kind of process moving forward, this is a look at the starting condition of the building that takes quite a bit of vision to imagine that beautiful space that we need and what we currently are working with. It is a recycling facility that needs quite a bit of repair. So moving in, it not only does it have a massive amounts of industrial cleanup needed, there are holes in the roofs. There are also 5 literal pits that were left by taking the giant balers out of the facility that were processing recycling material that left gaping holes within the concrete. Because this was a heavy industrial facility for so many years, we are going through all of the different expense and process with AKT and our team to be able to make sure that we make this a safe environment for our employees and the neighborhood surrounding. From waste to wow was our kind of vision. This is a mood board of the style that we are looking to kind of take. We're trying to be very consistent with the exterior look, which you'll see in a second from the current neighbors, to make it fit in with the environment and make it premium with the luxury condominiums that are nearby. We plan to have on the outside, so we plan to clean up the entire warehouse and build an office space on the Hudson edge of the facility. And then build a second mezzanine space within the office-only area within the interior of the building. That hopefully will also give us room to grow as we create more jobs within the Royal Oak area. This is a look at our warehouse where we primarily will be working on storage. storing event equipment that we are using between our events, safe and clean packing of the luxury gifts that we're producing on behalf of our clients, and then also a small wood shop that we'll be using for set design and repairing of assets as they come in and out of our facility. This is a look at our before and after for our vision. So right now, if you see on the top section, if you go to the next page, you can see this a little bit more. We're going to be doing a 100% cleanup and paint of the exterior of the building. We'll be removing a dilapidated metal structure on the left side that's right visible from Hudson, but we still plan to maintain the beautiful ivy wall that's blocking the sight line of the train from the neighbors. This is a look at what that vision will be when it is cleaned up, versus the dirty recycling facility that currently has constant truck traffic that is currently in this neighborhood. We don't plan to use this facility heavily at night by any means. Any activity that would be happening here is likely to contain between the 9 and 5 time zone. We plan to have, when we host the Lions and we host small events, we plan to have barbecues on our outside patio, but minimally, especially if it's more for team lunches and for client entertaining. So again, kind of looking at that blocked view, we want to make sure that we're sensitive to integrating within the community, but keeping our space private and blocked so that we're not disrupting the locals. This also is just a look at the before and after of what's there and what we're working with, where we plan to have a full interior hospitality space where we can bring our clients in, showcase our work, and use this as a set piece. But in order to do that, there is a lot of repair needed, even just to have this. There are open holes that are in the ceiling of this facility. This is just kind of a look again of some of the before and afters of the starting condition. So like I mentioned, it takes quite a bit of vision to be able to see what we plan to do with it, but we're very excited to be able to elevate this space and really make it a showpiece for the area. So these are a couple of the other spaces. Like I said, it really will be a space for creative brainstorming, which that is our primary product, is creative strategic design. Warehouse improvements that we mentioned will definitely include not only full HVAC, but also sealing the concrete, heavy industrial cleaning, loading docks, a fire protection system, and really making sure that we're doing all of the safety mitigation that we talked about in the original plan. Our tech area is a safe room, is a clean room where we plan to have small printers and a CNC machine to be able to cut small signage, and really that helps us make our events happen more efficiently. And then like I mentioned with the wood shop, again, this is where we'll have, again, a PPE station. It needs the same level of finish as this, again, is an area with holes in the space. This is the room that needs the most work. This is where there are multiple pits. This is the primary area where we currently have a broken roll-up door that is going into the parking lot. We'll be sealing all of that off, sealing the floor, filling the pits, fixing the roof, and getting it ready for safe and clean packing. So as a look at our brownfield eligible activities, I think those were already roughly discussed. However, we are very much hoping that the brownfield plan can help support the cleanup of the space so that we can really allocate the costs of rehabilitation into an environment that is safe for our employees and a significant improvement for the neighbors. This is a look at our ask of the brownfield plan that we put forth at the last meeting, and kind of a look at how we plan to spend and kind of focus the energy. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, great presentation. Before we open up the public hearing, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hedges or Ms. Craig? No questions? I think that was a pretty good presentation then. I mean, expected given the successful business you've been creating over the years. So I had all my questions answered at planning. So, okay. Commissioner Colo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess, thank you for the presentation. That was great. Actually, I could walk to this from my house, and I do hate the trucks that go by as it is. That truck route, I see Ms. Donahue in the back here. She'll probably be very happy to get rid of the truck traffic across southern Royal Oak there. That has been the bane of our existence for quite a while. So I do have a couple questions about the brownfield plan itself and then some of the uses of the facility. So I guess maybe when it comes to use of the facility, I mentioned those trucks. I saw the diagram has 3 trucks. What is your anticipated use of trucks, semis coming in and out?
Thank you for asking. So as an event agency, Activate will be producing events in other cities as a primary product that we use for one of our primary products. That being the case, those semis are being loaded every week, maybe every 2 weeks. When we have an event that we're loading out, that we're prepping, a lot of the time and value of our work is pre-building within the walls of our building and then having the load out week where you have 1 week where the trucks are leaving our facility and going to the event site. And then after that happens, they come back to reload. So this is a this is not a daily occurrence where we're having multiple semi trucks every day. We will receive basic shipments. We are a big Amazon client, so we have lots of Amazon deliveries that will be coming in through this facility. But the level of massive semi-truck and industrial is going to be significantly less than it currently is.
So you figure out how trailers are being filled in?
Yeah, we have a couple of box trucks that we currently have within our fleet, but what you will more likely see is some of our experiential vehicles like a coach giant purse that might be driving down Hudson once in a while.
Awesome. Okay. And then for Mr. Hedges, just a couple questions. I saw the 1.5% interest or whatever the interest fee was. Is that something that is unique to this brownfield, or have we also used that in past brownfields?
We've used it in the past, different rates over the years. About half of the brownfield plans that have been approved by the city over the last several years have included an interest rate on the balance that remains to be reimbursed over the years. Some hadn't, some haven't. It's the last few that you've seen have not included it, but about half of the plans that have been approved by the city have included some applicable interest rate.
Okay, is that interest that the city is paying on the money to the petitioner?
That is correct. It's calculated on after their first year of reimbursement, what remains, the annual interest rate is applied to that at 1.75%. And it's also capped at a maximum amount of $101,632 over the 22-year length of the plan.
I assume that accounts for just the change in the value of money from today's present day value until the 22 years from now.
Correct.
Okay. And then was there a discussion about that interest? This might be for the mayor or for Commissioner Grantina, but was there any discussion about that rate, including it? And then I see we're including demolition activities, which have been sometimes included and sometimes not in various brownfield plans. I trust the Brownfield Authority for what they came up with. So I just wonder if either of you can, or Mr. Hedges can summarize if there was a discussion about the demolition activities.
There was.
Oh, thank you. Anytime.
There was
Mr. Gantino.
discussion of it at the meeting. It was mostly related exactly what the petitioner was seeking for demolition, and most of it's related to, as they've described within the building, it's demolition activities related to the interior of the building to get it to a condition where they can renovate it and use it for the uses they're proposing, which right now would not be possible.
Commissioner Gantino, I don't know if you had anything more to add.
Yeah, so I'll just add a little bit.
That's very much add to that.
The selective demolition that's listed there is almost specifically related to a lot of the industrial contamination that currently exists within the interior of the facility. And so those costs are associated with getting that interior space sort of cleaned up and habitable, for lack of a better term, for an office use. I did want to clarify, though, that I believe some of the $101,000 related to the 1.75% interest rate, a portion of those dollars is intended to cover some of the costs of remediating parts of the site that are not considered eligible activities. So there are some additional expenses, I believe, in the exterior of the building, filling of the pits, some other items like that, that just due to the Brownfield Act aren't necessarily considered eligible activities for this project per se, but typically would be part of a brownfield plan. Some of those dollars are intended to cover some of those additional costs to get the site cleaned up. So there is, I would say, in the grand scheme of this, minimal remediation dollars for the interior demolition, but there's additional dollars for remediation activities on the exterior of the site as well.
And we covered that all of the activities were legally permissible.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps you.
And I think we did a quick math experiment too, that if 49 employees now, and maybe double, triple, quadruple down the road spend, you know, I think we made up, or I made up, I say we, but it was me, $20,000, you know, in the downtown in perpetuity. It was tens of millions of dollars of benefit to the city that wouldn't otherwise be able to be possible because cleaning up this site is, I mean, and I don't want to scare you guys. I'm sure this is just the stuff they identified. I can only imagine, you know, when Jimmy Hoffa pops up or that Tyrannosaurus Rex fossil, you know, it's going to be, you know, there's not a lot of room in that budget. So, you know, we think it's a good opportunity to bring a well-respected leader in the industry over to our neck of the woods and, you know, help be an important part of our downtown. Commissioner Gantino?
So I do want to, I guess, add a few things on the eligible activities and that interest rate, and certainly correct me if I misrepresent anything from what I recall from the Brownfield discussion. So Royal Oak is not considered a core community, which is a very specific term. It's not anything that we can apply for or anything that we've done. We're just not considered a core community. Because of that, there are certain activities that are not considered eligible expenses in a Brownfield program. Some of those activities are what are covered by those dollars on the 1.75% interest. So I just want to make sure I pointed that out because it's not anything that the applicant did or we could change, but these are activities that would normally be considered eligible activities, but because we're not a core community, they're not on this particular project. But if I misstated any of that, please correct me.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, if you want to take a seat, we'll open up the public hearing and see if anybody wishes to come up and speak at tonight's public hearing. Not all at once. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to close the public hearing and bring the meeting back to this side of the table. So we have a recommendation in front of us from the Brownfield planning team, and you know, we're expected to act on it. Commissioner Colo.
I move approval of the resolution.
A motion by Commissioner Colo, second by Commissioner Bastian. All right, discussion on this. Commissioner Colo.
Yeah, so like I said before, I live a stone throw away from the site. It is dilapidated. It is a nuisance to the neighborhood. And we've talked about that many times at this table over the years, the blight that adds. So seeing this developed into something new is just good for the community all around. I'm sure this also increased the tax base of that parcel too. This is a much higher and better use than a waste transfer recycling station, whatever it is at the moment. In my professional life, I worked with organizations like this. I visit their facilities. I know the value of having a high-end facility like this. And then what you do when you leave that too. I mean, I do believe they will take clients out to in and around Royal Oak. Or if the clients are cool, they might take them to Yield and have a good time. But this is just a really good facility, and this is a much better use than the land we have. So I'm excited to see this construction start. I was recently assaulted by all the bushes and overgrowth on the sidewalk close to that site right now. So there's nowhere to go but up.
They're doing their job. Commissioner Gantino.
I'm going to take you first. So yeah, I just want to concur with Commissioner Colo. We've seen a lot of brownfield requests come through recently, and I think in the grand scheme of things, the actual amount of this ask is very reasonable considering the benefits that we're getting from the project. We're getting a very large site cleaned up. It's being, no pun intended, reactivated into a much better use. But what I particularly appreciate is the clients that you're going to be bringing to your facility gives our city a chance to showcase itself and highlight itself. So the job creation that's happening with it, the fact that we're getting a cleaned up site, I think this is a very reasonable ask for the benefit that we're getting. So happy to support.
Commissioner Hott.
I would ditto what Commissioner Colo and Commissioner Gantino stated. And just want to thank the petitioners for considering Royal Oak and moving your headquarters here. It's an incredible city, so I'm excited that we're going to have an incredible company come in, and it sounds like it's an exciting company, and it do a lot of great things. So thank you for that, and welcome to Royal Oak.
Commissioner Bastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the petitioner for a fantastic presentation. There are so many wins for Royal Oak with this business coming to our city. First of all, they're coming from another city, so that is a boost to our economy and our economic development. I love the fact that this is a woman-owned business, and I really, really appreciate the fact that the more significant portion of their clientele are not auto industry based. Unfortunately, you know, being part of Metro Detroit, just like so many other Rust Belt cities, part of the missed opportunity is a diversification of a business portfolio. And so bringing in clients that are not necessarily automotive based just exposes Royal Oak to a wider audience and gives us the opportunity to shine for people that might not have seen us otherwise. So I'm very excited to have you come to our city and appreciate the work you're doing.
I don't know if there's any nice things left to say. Cool presentation. I think, you know, for me, one of the things we talked about at planning, or I'm sorry, Brownfield, was how this is an adaptive reuse. So this is, we talked a lot about environmental remediation and whatnot, but we're also talking about it in the context of reuse. So tearing down a building, extracting more materials out and doing whatever, usually, you know, certainly costs a lot more, but it also, not always, also has a greater impact on the environment as well. So the adaptive reuse nature of this, transforming something ugly into something beautiful, is really, I think, an important element. I agree, when I look at the economics here, it makes a lot of sense for the city of Royal Oak. I think it makes a lot of sense for Activate as well. Showcasing Royal Oak to many clients that may not be familiar with the city, how awesome it is. Maybe they come and locate here. Maybe you do a lot of work for folks that have already made Royal Oak their headquarters, and keeping that electricity within the city. And I think there's sometimes confusion. We heard at public comment tonight, people say, oh, tax abatement this and that, and make all these arguments for whatever reason. I think they misunderstand fundamentally what brownfield is. We've used it in 2 applications in the city. It's 1 for environmental remediation and those related activities, and 2 for affordable, attainable housing, both which are benefit the communities that take advantage of those. And they're taxes that would not exist otherwise unless the building or facility was built. And without them, the buildings and facilities would not be built. So I still struggle, and I guess I have to work as a leader of this community to communicate to folks a basic education and understanding how these incentives work. And at the end of the day, we're bringing jobs to Royal Oak. We're going to take credit for all your hard work. We're bringing jobs to Royal Oak. We're increasing the surrounding tax base. So those properties adjacent to this property, because it's getting cleaned up and becoming much more beautiful and nicer and activated, those property values will grow up, or values will grow. And then overall, the economic impact in the city will lead to sort of this nuclear economic tax base growth in terms of other property values, more demand, higher rents, higher value, higher property value, higher tax. So I think it's really important to understand how this works in a bigger picture. And so we're really excited to have you. I think it's a cool business. We're a town that has awesome bookstores, and now we have awesome marketing agencies and great restaurants, and even a investment bank, a highly coveted and renowned investment bank, is located here as well. So yeah, welcome to Royal Oak. I have a feeling this may pass. I don't know. Not a betting man. Casinos always take my money, but I got a feeling. All right, so notwithstanding any other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. All right. Congrats, and we'll be looking forward to that invitation to see all the hard work that you've done. And check out that centerpiece when you walk in and what's behind the shelves there.
If you see my cousin Ed Bastian, say hello.
All right, item 12, rezoning of 2800 West 14 Mile Road to Plan Unit Development, second reading. Mr. Murphy.
At your May 18th meeting, you approved the request to rezone the northeast corner of 14 Mile in Coolidge from general industrial to planned unit development to accommodate a Kroger retail store, a filling station, and an apartment building. You discussed a wide or broad array of community benefits because they're seeking a planned unit development for this request. Those items that you agree upon as community benefits and all the other deviations from the zoning ordinance, those are all be incorporated and acknowledged into the development agreement, which is attached for you as part of your agenda packet tonight. But based on your prior comments at the May 18th meeting, the petitioner has identified that 26 of the 85 dwellings, or 30% of those units, will be reserved for households that make no more than 120% of area median income, and that period be for no less than 20 years. So what does that term mean? It's pretty nebulous. If it's a one-person household, in today's dollars, that's someone making no more than $88,080. For two people, that's a household making no more than $680. You also discussed ways to create a better walking path from the apartment building to the Kroger store and down to 14 Mile Road. So the petitioner has identified that on their drawings. We can go into that more in detail, what you see on the screen when the petitioner comes forward, but they have done revisions to their drawing to better identify that walking path. They've also added EV charging spaces and bicycle parking. They've talked to SMART about installing a bus shelter along 14 Mile Road at the end of that walking path. And they've offered to work with the Commission for the Arts for an art display in the setting west of the Kroger building. This is a second reading of the amendment to amend the map associated with the zoning ordinance. So again, you have tonight in front of you the development agreement and the drawings associated with the proposal. With that, I can answer any questions that you might have, and certainly the petitioner is here to answer any questions as well.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Murphy? I do have one question I want to ask that came up in public comment. Some concerns, and I know we have City Engineer Donahue here with us today, although she's not here for this. She came in a little too early and may have to answer. There's some questions about, there's a personal story about, as the property stands today, that there were some hit and run accidents that the individual had been involved with, and there was concerns about traffic and the safety of this development. My understanding is, reading through this, the traffic study was completed and evaluated, and I guess I'd like to get some confirmation that, I guess versus the status quo, that this development would have, with the new light. I mean, I believe the traffic is being designed to accommodate the new use versus maybe today we have traffic instruments that are for when it was a factory use. So is there any insights to say that the traffic study has been completed and we feel it's satisfactory to mitigate unnecessary accidents?
Yes, it's what we refer to as being, it was peer reviewed, and that occurred on 2 occasions. So the petitioner has a civil engineering firm that produced the traffic impact study, and that was their report was reviewed by one of the firms that the city has on retainer, and that back and forth exchange, that peer review, occurred on 2 occasions, and all of the items that were addressed were resolved in that final report, which is attached to the agenda. And you are correct in that there'll be upgrades to 14 Mile Road to accommodate for better traffic signal timing, as well as a deceleration lane to better allow for traffic flow into the site on 14 Mile Road, westbound traffic. There's also some accommodations at the decel lane and accommodations to the first drive entrance that you see off of, when you head north off of Coolidge. There's a divider there that will prohibit vehicles exiting the site from being able to turn southbound. Vehicles will still be able to turn southbound onto Coolidge, but they'll have to do that at the northernmost driveway.
Gotcha.
So there are safety accommodations with regard to vehicles and pedestrians. You as a group had very also wisely pointed out the pedestrian safety for those that will be living on the site and being able to walk to the store, to the bus stop that they're proposing, to the sidewalk that connects to 14 Mile and Coolidge. And the petitioner has reflected some changes to the drawing to accommodate all of those things that you had observed and requested that they be modified.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. I suppose you guys got all your questions the last meeting or the last time this was here, where I was absent? Okay. Petitioner's free to speak, although you're not obligated to.
Thank you for that option. Dennis Cowan on behalf of the developer, Royal Oak Industrial, and with me here this evening is the principal, Frank Jarbo, who is also the president of Jarbo Ronish Construction and Development, which is a Royal Oak-based business right in the Delamere Activity Center, about a half-mile directly south of this site. So Frank and his team take a lot of personal interest in this site and its development because it will hopefully spur development to the south in that Delamere Activity Center once this 210,000 square feet of industrial space is gone. And I might add, tonight seems to be industrial reuse night. We just had the largest, I think, remaining site of our old industrial area in South Royal Oak, which is the old Royal Oak Waste Paper and Metal. Some of us remember that from 40 years ago. And now this site today, the old Kamau Pico site. Also with us are Mark Gambill, who is a real estate asset manager with Kroger, and his associate, Ryan Pachusik, who's with us, and they both traveled here from Cincinnati to be here today. They've been at every one of the Planning Commission meetings and traveled far to get things done. And then Jamie Antonevich, who is our project engineer from Atwell. So, as you may recall, a month ago we were here, and you had a lot of comments, suggestions, and I would say conditionally approved based on our response. And I believe we have covered every major issue that each one of you brought up in terms of substance. So I'm not going to go through every one, but just the highlights first. And I wish Commissioner Cheatham was here tonight because I think she'd be very happy of her advocacy for safety on that walkway. So here's what happened. The sidewalk was moved, not the building. There was some room to move the sidewalk. Curbing was added, particularly at the truck delivery area. Bollards were added in 2 spots. Multiple bollards, by the way, and also that walkway area was striped. So it's very clear that it's a walkway area. It's also very clear that now we have eliminated potential interference from delivery trucks and the walkway through protective design measures, which have occurred. And that is what Commissioner Cheatham in particular asked for, and I think we responded wholeheartedly with that. We did add 4 more EV chargers on the west side of the Kroger building, which seemed to be, after a lot of discussion, the best place to put them. That would now mean that we have, I misspoke, not EV chargers, but EV charging spaces, because you do have dual chargers, so you don't have to put in a charger for every space. So we'll have 4 more EV parking spaces. With the other 6, that's a total of 10. I'll call it the bonus round, which was not discussed that much, but the team came up with, which is something they did in Farmington Hills at Hunter Square. They added in the western community space to the west of the Kroger building, they added a pad an area that will be for public art. So we will work cooperatively with the city and the Royal Oak Arts Commission for them to develop from artists appropriate artwork to be placed in that particular area. So thought that would be an enhancement that I know that's a goal of the community to have more artwork out and about, and we certainly have responded to that. So there were some other changes, maybe not as dramatic as these, but that were also made at the suggestion of all of you a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago. And then most importantly, on the community benefits side of the ledger, as Mr. Murphy pointed out, yes, we will, the developer has committed to 30% of the 85 units to be workforce or attainable housing units. And then finally, the smart bus shelter, at the direction of Mr. Jarbo, I contacted directly the executive director of SMART, Tiffany Gunter, and she was very pleased to hear that SMART was being included in this process. And she then authorized a letter that I attached to my letter to you indicating support for bus shelter, enhanced, she calls it an enhanced facility, but it is a covered bus shelter. And what we'll do is, they have an application process, and so we're going to start that process relatively soon and coordinate with them in the city so we have that shelter in an appropriate place, most likely on 14 Mile. So that was a development since we all last met. We kind of wanted to tie that, put a bow tie around that. I do want to add on the traffic study very briefly. There were two reiterations back and forth, and this is massive amounts of data and tables and queuing lengths, traffic signaling coordination and synchronizing, and a lot of detailed information way above my pay grade. But I will say that the April 1st letter from HRC, Hubble, Roth, and Clark, which the city hired to do the peer review, and that was found that both the traffic impact study and the site plan were to be acceptable. And I know that doesn't sound sexy from the viewpoint of a lot of other things, the way it could be framed, but that's as exciting as you get in traffic study when it's deemed acceptable. So we met the test. We're very happy. We think that all the work that went in between Flees Vanderbrink, our traffic consultant, and HRC is going to develop to do as best as can be done in that location to try and minimize friction and all of the traffic that is in that area already. So that's where we're at. Again, we're here to answer, Frank and I and others are here to answer any questions and move the process forward. Hopefully, we respectfully ask for your second vote of approval so we can start construction drawings and get going.
Questions for the petitioner? Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say that this is a vast improvement from what we saw a couple weeks ago. Thank you for listening to the concerns of the commission and taking those to heart and really making the changes. I think that's important. This is kind of a small one. I just have a question on. There was talk about sidewalk going out to Parmenter that would require an easement from the schools to allow that. I see that you drew that in. I just want to make sure a condition that's being offered was also, if I recall, to pay for that sidewalk installation if that ever does come about.
Well, what we agreed to do, and what is in the agreement, is that, first of all, with Mr. Murphy's help, we dug out the 1984 resolution, and unfortunately, when the city vacated the street, while it reserved utility easements, it did not reserve a sidewalk easement. So what will have to happen is the city will need to go to the school district, which is the owner of the property, and I don't know what their arrangement is with the IDS, which is, the intermediate school district that runs that facility, but they're listed as a property owner, so there would need to have the sidewalk extended, and what we've committed to pay for is on our side, everything we need to do, which is the entranceway. There's probably going to need to be lighting there. We're going to have to build a walkway on our side. So that's what is in the agreement, and that's what we've committed to make that happen. So once we get the know that the sidewalk is going to go in, we can coordinate it administratively with the planning department and engineering department to set that up properly.
So then, all right, I believe we need the city then to reach out to the school district to start those discussions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Antina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. Yeah, I just want to thank you for the entire process. I think the very first time that we saw this at planning, there was some things made very clear. The response to those comments, I think, have been well received, and I really appreciate you taking those comments to heart and actually responding to a lot of the concerns that were raised. And this is a continuation of that. I think we raised a bunch of concerns with the revised plan last time. You've addressed many of those, which I do appreciate. I do have a question with regards to the additional EV chargers that were added, which I believe were Commissioner Colo's suggestion to begin with. I appreciate you adding those 2 chargers. There is no, I guess, specificity on the chargers themselves and whether they're going to be level 2 or level 3 chargers. I'm not sure if you're willing to commit to anything tonight, but we're not really in the business of designing your project for you. I would highly recommend that the chargers that have been added on the west side of the building, that you consider those to be DC fast chargers, and potentially just leave the other chargers by the residential buildings as level 2 chargers. I think one of the intents of suggesting that was for when shoppers arrive and they're actually using the store to be able to utilize those chargers. Level 2 chargers are not going to be functional, or not going to function very well for that use. So I just want to make that suggestion to consider that. Again, you haven't provided the specificity on the type of charger, so hopefully you'll take that to heart as you've done all of our other comments.
Well, I think the Kroger company has a lot of data and has some experience, and I think they'll pick the appropriate level of charging. So, but I will add, just to follow up, we had 4 meetings with the Planning Commission, and this is our 2nd meeting with the City Commission, and I think that Frank and the group would agree at each level with the comments we got and the discussion, and then taking it back to their team and the Kroger company, which has made a lot of changes to their site plan and the way it was originally envisioned. There was a lot of flexibility shown by Kroger here in what they envisioned, and I think we all got to the right place, and at each level there was an improvement in the project. So Frank, you want to follow up on that?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Frank Jarbo from Jarbo Ranch Construction. I can definitely attest to that. I mean, as we've gone through the process, and I pass by this site every single day when I leave the office. And when it went up for sale, we were the first to bid on it, and we, successfully won that bid. But through the process, we didn't just look at this as an industrial site. We said, let's look at this as the highest and best use. Luckily, we came with this Kroger development and the multifamily. So for us, it was a true partnership. We've been in the community for over 32 years. Our offices have been there. This is what a true partnership means. We listen to the Planning Commission. We go back and study to figure out what we can do to make things work. And we come back and we had some other things that had been done, and we sharpened our pencils again. So we do appreciate everyone's hard work on this and everyone's input too as well.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Motions, questions, comments? Commissioner Gantina?
Well, yes, I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for the petitioner or for the city attorney with regards to the agreement and schedule dates. And what I'm alluding to is we have essentially 2 separate buildings here. We've got the grocery store and then the residential building. Maybe you can speak to it, but my concern is making sure that both buildings the construction of both buildings start relatively close to each other versus the grocery store going up and then at some point in the future, the residential building going up. I don't know if that's addressed in the agreement or if you can address that tonight. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with what the expectations are.
We have to go over the exact agreement, exactly what the verbiage does say, but our full intention is to move forward on both projects simultaneously. Now, we don't want to have one permit stop the other, so if the building permit is issued for the multifamily sooner, then we'll get started on it sooner. If the building permit is issued for the Kroger store, then they'll get started on that sooner. But our full intention is to have both developments within a few months. And obviously, we still have application for workforce housing that we need to put in, and some, some other items that we need to figure out too as well, so.
Commissioner Colo?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate Commissioner Garcia's comment. Commissioner Garcia's comment about that, because, we do want to make sure that both developments happen, at some point, and that just one that's profitable immediately is not built at the same, and the other one abandoned, because I do believe that the housing is part of the public benefit, which is why in a PUD that makes it something that I think we're willing to consider. I also believe that these are going to happen simultaneously, and that the city attorney and his team can put in language to make sure that they're executed at some point. So with that being said, I know we've gone through a lot at Planning Commission. City Commission has made a lot of changes also. So I'm going to move approval with the PUD as presented, with all the conditions presented, and with the additional direction to city staff to engage with the schools about possible easement on their property in the future.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bastian. Discussion. Commissioner Colo.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up by saying, I think that this is, it's come a long way. It's a very different project than what Planning Commission saw a couple of years ago. It's a good use as we continue to change that section of the town. Mr. Cowan said earlier about this is 2 units of industrial land that's no longer going to be industrial. I think it's just good for the community here. I'm happy to hear more about that traffic study, to know that those concerns have been thought about, and I believe it's our standard practice to do traffic studies on a large project like this. The city just won't go in blind. So that's good to know that those were talked about tonight too. But in general, this is going to bring new residents to our town. It's going to give our residents a diversification of where they could shop, more competition to lower gas prices all around too. So I think this is nothing but good.
Commissioner Cantina?
So I just want to address one of the comments and concerns that was made at public comment with regards to environmental sustainability related to the project. As part of the community benefits, one of the advantages of this project, the site currently does not have a stormwater infrastructure there. This project will allow us to have a modern engineered stormwater system to deal with stormwater runoff from this site. In addition to that, there's a significant amount of green space and trees that are being planted with this project that don't currently exist. While it's certainly not my favorite project in general, I think what it is and what it's bringing to the table is doing the best that it can to help meet the goals of the city. That concern was brought up at public comment, so I at least want to make sure that we touched on the fact that it was a consideration as part of our review, and I do think what we're going to be getting is better from an environmental standpoint than what currently exists there today. So hopefully that helps you.
Commissioner Hunt?
I'll just say, like Commissioner Gantina, I wasn't super excited about this project, but it is a project that is activating an area that is now not necessarily being utilized. It's bringing tax dollars into our city. It's bringing housing, desperately needed housing, into our city. And it's a corner that's being utilized with environmental sustainable features, and it's a project that's needed in our city. So I'm in favor of it. Again, not a huge fan of it, but I will cross that 51% to be in favor of it.
Yeah, I'll just add, when we first saw this, I think the words I used was a box on a lot, and I think we've come a long ways. And people have made mention that, is there a lot of excitement or non-excitement? I think it's a challenge when you're talking about a grocery store, which is a private utility that people need in the community. We have to eat, we have to have grocery stores. They do benefit us. I mean, like Commissioner Colo said, they drive down market prices of groceries through competition, the same thing with gasoline. The idea of having another gas station on the corner there, I kind of had these mixed feelings because we're making some progress here environmentally. We're putting the EV chargers in, which is great, but if you think about it, the convenience, and this happens to me when I go to the Kroger over on Stevenson, is I'm not driving on the road to the gas station. I can just do 2 things at once. So it cuts down a little bit on the traffic by people opting in to do 2 things on one spot. And I think that, is a benefit, a little minor benefit to congestion, but also maybe a tiny bit to the extent that people are burning gas, an environmental benefit. I'd say Commissioner Gantina highlighted a lot of the environmental considerations. We're going from a major industrial thing with no stormwater management to something better. Is it as perfect as any development could be? Well, the area provides challenges. We have factories and industrial all over that area, retail, shopping, Meyer, you name it. It's going to be hard to find folks that are going to develop that into something other than a retail use, and that will have a lower impact on the area than its former industrial use. So that's part of my consideration. Economically, jobs, keep competition, keeping prices lower, giving people more options, fulfilling our housing objective of attainable and affordable and workforce housing. This is, again, we're leveraging some of the brownfield opportunity and things of that nature through the PUD to achieve that here. And I think that's important. This project just isn't the grocery store, it's the housing development, and the affordable part of that is important as well. We're getting some traffic upgrades to the area paid for by the developer. I think that's always a good thing. We talked about deceleration lanes. That would be a tough, expensive thing for us to do on our own as a city, but those deceleration lanes will offer a safety benefit. I think it was very well thought out. Again, it's, nobody says, hey, let's take this big parcel of land and put a grocery store there, but, that's the proposal in front of us. And, grocery stores, medical facilities, gas stations, those are things that we need in our community. And this is probably the most appropriate spot to put a grocery store. It doesn't mean it's not going to come without some drawbacks. There will always be some drawbacks, but I think the preponderance of the benefits outweighs any sort of potential drawbacks. And so I'll be supporting this. I appreciate the efforts of the petitioner, really listening to the Planning Commission, really taking into consideration feedback on walkability and safety, and spending a lot of time and money redrawing things to make sure that this would meet the litmus test. So, yeah, I think if we have no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
This brings us to public right-of-way ordinance amendments, first reading. City Engineer Donahue.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight, before you, I'm bringing some updates to the right-of-way ordinance, which is Chapter 650. This ordinance overall regulates the use, the maintenance, protection, and permitting of our public right-of-way. The packet before you tonight has a red line version of what we're suggesting be changed, as well as a clean version of the proposed ordinance. And so I'll just briefly go over the substantive changes that we're recommending here. The first has to do with basements that encroach out into the public right-of-way. Sorry, I'm getting feedback. I don't know if that's my mic. We found several basements over the past several years where there used to be coal chutes or something out in the public right-of-way. We think we're repairing sidewalk and we're actually putting a big hole in somebody's basement. And it's a big problem because we really don't have a way to deal with that, and it's usually a legal battle that's very expensive. And so this ordinance will include provisions for defining what that is. We're calling it an areaway, and stating that that is the responsibility of the building owner to maintain it and to maintain the sidewalk that's above it. The next item we are including is just to state that the city is not responsible for irrigation systems in the public right-of-way. That was sort of implied in the past, but we're making a little bit more specific at this point. And also added language that water should not be projecting across the sidewalk path for pedestrians. Related to our sewer leads, we've had a policy since 1984 that sewer leads in the public right-of-way are the property owner's responsibility. But putting it in the right-of-way ordinance gives it a little bit more weight when we're explaining this to residents. And we've also added some language there that helps reinforce when we as a city need to go in to fix a public safety issue, like a sinkhole in a major road caused by somebody's sewer lead. This gives us, the backing to do that and to bill back the property owner, as opposed to, again, having to deal with like a legal battle. We've improved the enforcement language for this ordinance. Currently, there's really no teeth in this ordinance, so if somebody is doing something in the right of way they shouldn't, we tell them not to, and that's about all I can do at this point. So now we actually have violations that code enforcement they can write tickets. They're escalating violations, 1, 2, and 3, at costs of $50, $100, and $250, and then the 4th violation could go to be a misdemeanor. But that, again, just gives us a little teeth to deal with people that are constant issues in the right-of-way, and we need to deal with that. We updated our bond requirements for right-of-way permits. The big issue there we keep having are people that go out of business or just abandon their permits, and the city is holding this bond money and we can't do anything with it. So this allows us, if a permit's been sitting for a very long time and nobody can claim that bond, to forfeit those funds to the city. That's really the major changes I wanted to highlight for you, but I'm happy to take any questions. I did want to note that we ran this by the police, building department, and DPW to make sure everybody else was on board with all the changes that we're proposing. And one clerical note, the city clerk noted to me today, I actually have the wrong ordinance number in the resolution. It should be 2026-07. It's written as 06 in your packet, so I apologize for that. So if there is a motion tonight, could we please update that? I would appreciate it, and I'm so sorry.
All right, questions for City Engineer Donahue? Questions for City Engineer Donahue? I'll just say 6, 7. Okay. I'm hoping my kids are listening, so they never say that again. All right, Commissioner Colo.
Okay, so it turns out that you found a problem with the ordinance and you gave us a solution to this problem? Yes. Okay, perfect. I move approval of the resolution on first reading with the updates to the title as needed.
We have a motion by Commissioner Colo, second by Commissioner Gantina. And I'll just add to that, consulted different city departments to get their feedback to make sure that the solution was viable. Yeah, I mean, I'm not smart enough on this one to have too many objectives. Fortunately, I haven't had to be personally experience what you guys have experienced in these situations. So, pound of or an ounce of prevention, prevents a pound of cure. So, all right. Anybody else? All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. All righty. That brings us to agenda item 13.5. Discuss thrown bathrooms offered up by Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It came to my attention after watching the WROK Downtown Development Authority meeting the other day that the DDA had declined to continue the use of thrown bathrooms in our downtown. And I think it's unfortunate because the City Commission had sent a request to them a handful of months ago, asking them to pick up that infrastructure piece as we go into the summertime here. And I think there might have been some miscommunication with our DDA. Maybe our priorities weren't all aligned correctly. But I think we have an opportunity here to kind of pause and realign and make sure that we're all on the same page in what we need downtown. Looking every month or every quarter, we've received some reports on thrown usage. And it strikes me that the thrown would leave next week or at the end of this month, right before July. In July of 2025, almost 2,000 people use the thrown restroom. That is a high need. There's a lot of people in the downtown. We had designed the thrown restroom, the downtown park originally with, we had designed it with a restroom in place. Pandemic struck and we did some value engineering. And that is one thing that we paid utilities in for, but didn't build at the time. We didn't know where the pandemic was taking us, but it didn't make sense at that time. But it was always designed to have a restroom in it. A handful of years later, we got some design bids, and the engineering costs on those around $230,000 to $250,000 for a single occupancy restroom. And then when we bid them out, I believe that had skyrocketed. The bids came in at over $700,000. So at that point, we decided that that wasn't quite feasible to us. That was, a lot of money that we would then have to maintain and police at any given time. We looked at building something on the farmer's market lot. Well, I was never really in favor of that, so I can't say too many nice things about it. I can say that it would have added, I think, 12 units across the street, but the cost of that originally started at below $1 million in our estimates and ballooned to over $2 million. So that became just unattainable. We were presented with a thrown solution not long ago, and it is $6,000 a month, but that does include the cleaning and security of it at all times. The thrones are cleaned 3 times a day, so they are, constantly refreshed, and they have high usage. We see that people continuously use them. This is, I've been on the commission long enough, and before that, on the library board, where we used to have problems with, people defecating often in the library bushes and using those bushes for their restrooms. Public restrooms are in need. What makes us a welcoming community is to have places that anyone can use the restroom, which is the beauty of Throne. And it's both smartphone activated or it's passes that we give out at our library. We made sure, I believe Commissioner Cheatham really made sure that we had different usages available so that people always were able to get to the Throne, not dependent on their technology. So as we go into the summer month here, I think that's important that we continue to keep these in place. I know the DDA had discussed potentially building a new restroom in the future, and I think that's a great discussion to have. But until this discussion is completed, I really think that we need to reevaluate what we're using for restrooms in the public park. Just putting porta potties there isn't quite the same. The Throne is conditioned and cleaned 3 times a day. Porta potties are serviced once a week with, a guy in a truck and a hose. They're kind of a different experience. We have children using the splash pad. It goes until 10 o'clock at night. So unfortunately, we won't see it lit tonight. But I'm sorry, I can't call it splash pad either. I've been yelled at. It's a water feature. But the water feature is a great use, and kids use it all the time. I know a couple, in years past, I've had to change my kids in a towel behind my car because there was no shelter to change them in, and they were sopping wet. And there's many families that had to do that. So now a family can take their child into the Throne and use it together. Speaking of taking someone to the Throne, a caregiver can take anyone into the Throne because it's large enough for 2 people to enter, and someone can assist. You can't do that in a porta potty. So when we talk about being accessible, being a welcoming community, this is the solution we have in front of us now. I think it's important to keep that going until we identify a new solution. So for discussion tonight, I'd love to hear my fellow commissioners' thoughts on keeping the Thrones in place, working with the DDA to identify their future plans and then potential funding right now, and then making sure that we keep these until that happens.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Cola. I'll just add, I do agree that a bathroom is a need. And for some of the newer commissioners, back when we designed this park, Commissioner Perush had a big say in it. It's a park that we've won accolades and awards for. I mean, it is a remarkable park. We host both the Veterans Day and Memorial Day ceremonies. We have the lighting of the park. We attract thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, I would argue, visitors for high intense uses, but also just the average person coming out, checking out a book out of the library and sitting outside. We always had in the plans to have a bathroom, and like Commissioner Colo said, we had a budget, and then we got a quote, which kind of made us angry at the time, that was far higher than that expectation. We knew eventually we were going to put a bathroom there. We were smart enough because it was a heck of a lot cheaper, pennies on the dollar, to put the plumbing, the electrical, and sewer line in a spot that we could tap into. My concern about, I know it's under the DDA purview. Aside from the cost, the $64,000, my concern is removing it does create a barrier for a number of people to use our park. Parents with small children. I look at my dad, he's 83. He can't shuffle his way up to the library to, go to the bathroom when he has to go. So getting people to want to come to the park knowing that there is a convenient option. $64,000 is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. But like Commissioner Colo said, part of that is servicing it. So when eventually we build a bathroom there, we're going to have to pay some variable cost to have the amenity. There's without question. So if you take that amount out and you look at, let's say it's half, and we look at the net present value of 32,000, bucks a year, that's probably between $400,000 and $600,000 depending on, we don't really use that average weighted cost of capital here, weighted average cost of capital at the city, but what we get in a bank, 5%, 6%, that's still under our last quote that we got, which I think was like $750,000 or something like that, something ridiculous, for something that was monstrously ugly with it was just like 4 walls and a roof, So I think it's important to have this conversation. I'm not trying to question the DDA's judgment or the recommendation, and they have their pressures on cost and all of that. At the same time, the purpose of what we did with the park was to bring quality of life. The purpose of what we did to the park was to attract way more visitors to the community. I don't think it should be the burden of the library or neighboring businesses for public toilet emergencies. Sadly, there were issues that the library had reported to us, which is why we got thrown, where we had folks going in the bushes on the butterfly garden and people going to look at butterflies and finding something different back there. So I think that it's a conversation worth having. What is our role in it? What can we do to help, think about this a little differently? And ultimately maybe force the question, what is the permanent plan? If we say someday we're going to have a permanent bathroom solution there, okay, let's define someday, let's get a plan, and then maybe it makes sense to do something with this option. If it's just, hey, we're going to save $64,000, limit accessibility to some people, make it more uncomfortable to go to the park, and, attract less people to our downtown because of it. Not a lot, but, some portion of people will make less visits because it's not as convenient. And we don't really have a solid plan on when we're going to install or what our target date is to do something. I just have a little reservation about that. I would highly encourage the DDA to rethink and reconsider this, and really come back with a plan. We might be able to help as a city. We might be able to find grants. We might be able to find things that can really get us closer to that solution. So those are my thoughts on the topic. Commissioner Hunt?
I guess I would say I'm a bit concerned that, next week, I believe Commissioner Holo indicated that the throne would be removed from the park. Given that, the park is activated now, there's, people going in every day for, our summer concert series, our the use of the water feature, and other, activities happening in the park. The use of a throne is much more of a different experience than for the use of porta potties. Hygiene is, one of them. There's a hand washing station in the throne. So I'm concerned that, at least the temporary fix would be the use of the porta potties. But I do agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I think there needs to be a real conversation about what is our permanent plan for that. I know we've talked about it here and there, but I think that's something that we really need to put our focus on. But I have a question for Mr. Grachowski. Is the contract with Throne currently, is it a month-to-month contract that's being utilized by the DDA?
So the DDA took over paying on that contract 3 months ago, I believe. At the time, I think we were at month-to-month. I don't know what the renewal looked like with the DDA, but I presume it's probably on a month-to-month basis. I see Mr. Yee here who might be able, or even our DDA director, but I would presume the assumption is a month-to-month or at least a 3-month. The proposed renewal presented to the DDA for their consideration was a 1-year agreement, which we had previously up until the first of the year, I think it was, and then we extended for a few months as the city. I think we're a 3-month extension, and then the DDA took over for a few months. But the agreement itself, I think, presented to the DDA for a 1 year. That's where the $60-some-odd thousand came from. That's for the one whole full year.
So this isn't just like the end of a contract, this is the
yeah, it's basically a 1 year that was extended a couple of times in different manners.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
We'll go with Mr. Bastian, Mr. Gantina, Mr. Colo. Or I'm sorry, Commissioner Bastian, Commissioner Gantina, and Commissioner Colo.
I've been called worse. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if the plan was always for there to be a permanent solution, and we found a temporary solution as a city, it just seems counterintuitive to me to offer an amenity and then rescind that amenity without a plan of action for what we do next. So I support what Commissioner Colo was saying in that let's find a way, as the park has become activated, as we have concerts, as we have events coming in the summer, to pursue a path to continue the throne existing while we find the more permanent solution.
Commissioner Gantina?
So yeah, I won't restate many of the comments that have been made because I agree with most of them. My biggest concern when I first learned of this was the timing of it. As the data shows, and Commissioner Colo pointed out, we're getting into the warmer summer months. That park is a great amenity to this city. There's a lot of people that are out and using that park, and the usage is going to increase over the next several months. So the notion of taking, to Commissioner Bastian's point, the notion of taking that amenity away at a time where we know the usage is actually going to be increasing significantly gives me great pause. But I do think it just simply highlights the fact that we want to continue to provide an amenity, but we do need to have much deeper conversations on the best way to do that going forward in a way that makes the most fiscal sense for everyone, the DDA and the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following up on Commissioner Hunt's comments to Mr. Chowski, I believe when it was presented to us last, we did have the option of month to month, 3 months, or 1 year at all the same rate, no matter which option we chose. The monthly rate didn't change. It wasn't a discount for going longer. Is that how you remember it too?
It sounds about right. It's a
Okay.
little hazy, but
Yeah.
I think there is a slight discount for a 1-year agreement or a longer agreement, but I don't think at the end of the day, they still held the prices for us.
Okay.
We have our DDA manager here tonight, Mr. Kremer. I don't know if you want to add anything to the conversation. He did send out a detailed memo. I think I understand it pretty good. I think there is, we shouldn't discount the fact that the people that thought about this and made the recommendation didn't do it without looking at a number of different considerations and trying to balance those considerations from a financial point of view to a benefit point of view, which is what everybody is charged with. I just think we may see it a little bit, that equation, a little bit differently. A slight tilt, maybe the DDA marketing team is like this and we're like this, So I guess my question is what next? I do understand if they're going to force the hand on a 12-month contract, that might be a problem and that might be, an issue we can't deal with. If there's room to extend it, then who has the authority to extend it? And can we extend it? And then should we move forward? And who's charged with coming up with a plan for a permanent solution? Because ultimately what's going to happen here too is we're going to get all the calls. Our email boxes are going to be full. Our calls from businesses and everybody else, it's going to come to this body. So we're trying to get ahead of it here. Doesn't come to the DDA. Nobody knows who to they should, but it's just, we know how human nature works. Commissioner Colo.
So I guess the proposal that I would throw out there for, our city attorney to maybe opine on and see if this is, a good way that we could go forward is tonight, direct staff to continue our relationship with Throne and ensure that we don't remove it. To identify, to re-engage with the Downtown Development Authority about payment for the Thrones and our high desire to have them continue to cover that downtown asset in a downtown park, and that we find great value of it for business retention and for visitors and for residents alike. And hope that they reconsider. In the meantime, ask staff to identify potential other funding avenues that could be available. And then work with the Downtown Development Authority, and if they want to build a new resource in our downtown, let's get a plan from them that we can see their timeline, what they choose. It would have to go through, the downtown park was designed by a task force, which I think it will now be embedded within Parks and Recreation. Would have to look at that and make sure that the design aesthetics are what we had intended when we designed it. So we would want them to work with our Parks and Recreation Board to make sure that if that happens, they're not only funding it, but the design is correct. And then how their commitment from them to, in perpetuity, maintain that structure, because any permanent structure is going to need daily cleanings. We're cleaning 3 times a day right now. It's going to need to be, it's locked and secured at night. And security features that would have to be considered. So make sure that that's identified in a plan also. So if the DDA can come together with that, I think that we can use drones as a stopgap until then, and then put those out to bid design in the future and see if that cost comes back. And then when that cost is $3 million, we might think again about what the next option is.
So is that a motion?
So that is a motion.
That is the world's longest motion. Yeah. Can you restate the motion for the body?
Mr. Attorney, can you state my motion?
Mr. Grochowski.
I wrote it.
You wrote it down.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have an interpretation from Mr. Grochowski. He speaks Colo.
Continue exploring options to continue the throne usage in Centennial Commons, re-engage with the DDA for potential payment of continuing thrones, and/or identify other funding sources for sponsoring thrones, while a permanent solution is reviewed through a task force with DDA, Parks and Rec Board, and consider commitments in perpetuity for maintenance and security.
Okay. Is there a second?
Summarized.
Summarized. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Bastian. Discussion on the motion. I'll just say it doesn't commit us to anything other than Mr. Grochowski's resources at this time, which are fully full, working on a number of different things. But what I will say is that if we can make this as simple as possible in that context of the motion to re-engage the DDA and see if we can have a conversation about this, and maybe there's a seasonal element, maybe there's a sponsored element with people do things in the park, they got to pay for part, whatever it may be. I don't think we need to, was it the $64,000 question that they say on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I mean, that's ironic here, but I think we have to treat it as not a $64 million problem. Let's treat it as a $64,000 problem.
I just had one question or point of clarification for the commission. Is there like a time frame? Working with Throne in the past, they've been pretty accommodating with the length of extension that they've provided to us. I've heard some discussion about if we're gonna pursue a permanent solution, let's do it sooner rather than later. Is there a time frame? I could see a 6-month, 3-month, 9-month, 12-month. Right now, the Throne was proposing a 1-year to the DDA, which didn't garner support. Is there a time frame that the commission would like to see associated with this?
Commissioner Colo, it looks like you have some ideas.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. My intention, at least tonight, is to make sure it doesn't go away at the end of this month. So right now, if that means month to month, because it's the same cost, I'm okay with that at the moment, at least for this month. As you explore that, I think it's looking and talking to the DDA and being realistic about what the time is. We have a design, okay, so then what is the time to get bids for that and put shovels in ground to activate it? I think that's a real conversation that we have a lot of experts in the city that know how long it takes to do that. So I think that we need coverage during those times. Throne offers different levels of cleaning during those times, but I know we talked about summer being busy. We had a report last year on one day in December, there were 125 individual uses of it because we have, as it turns out, we have a really popular park that we designed for 4 seasons, and people come to use it for Royal holidays and our ice rink, which is another great feature to our residents. So I want to make sure we have year-round coverage.
So month to month until we figure it out and get it in front of the DDA with our recommendation to them.
Month to month with the city paying for it? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Somebody's got to pay for it.
That's a great question. Yeah, because if the DDA is not going to pay for it, it's under their purview, then I guess we would have to pay for it until we come to such resolution, correct?
And that's kind of how I read, continue with the throne while re-engaging DDA on further discussions. I will say though, the appropriate funding sources, either being the Parks and Rec Fund or the general fund, will be the necessary funding agents locally, which means that there'll have to be measures taken for other expenditures to offset what this may do to those funds.
When's the next DDA meeting?
I assume the
Next
third, they just had one last week.
Yep.
So we've got a month for the next one. So the 3rd week of July, 3rd Wednesday probably.
Okay, so we could go forward with a month extension and get in front of the DDA and explain the case and take it from there. And then we can decide, do we continue or not? I mean, you guys also need some sort of finality, right? Like
Yeah.
It's just month to month until you get another action from the city commission?
Yeah, I think Isaac needs to come forward and talk to us. Can we still go month to month? It sounds like the offer was a year. That's what we voted on, right?
Yes, good evening, Your Honor. Just to clarify the record, we've had ongoing negotiations from the moment we committed to the 3-month contract. The result of those negotiations, after we analyzed the usage data and saw a pretty precipitous decline in the cold weather months, is they reduced the $6,000 per month to $5,000 per month for an 8-month period. But the minimum term that we've been offered is 12 months. I actually learned some things tonight about prior negotiations with Throne, potential flexibility. You know, I've looked at it from about every angle I can from the DDA side and tried to bring forward what I could to the DDA board. Originally it was 72,000, we got down to 64, but that term was a minimum of 12 months. So those are the facts as I understand them.
Can I ask a question? So is this 3-month period over now, or is there?
Correct.
And it's either that, a year's term now?
Correct, though I believe it may be possible for us to work with our account rep to have a follow-up discussion to clarify if the term could be adjusted based on the feedback we've gotten from commission tonight. That's a discussion we could have as soon as tomorrow.
So it sounds like we have an issue though, because if we said, this motion's kind of on the table, we're getting a little bit wacky here, but if its direction is go month to month and the provider says no, then it's gone. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I want it here, I think that that's a big commitment. You know, we want month to month to figure out if we want them here for a longer period of time, shorter period of time, or indefinitely. But if they come back and say, sorry, it's a year, take it or leave it, then it's probably leave it, sadly. But if they agree, based on this motion, to go for a month, till we can talk to the DDA to reconsider, then we're okay, at least for that period, based on this motion. Because this is just, we're not demanding anything. I mean, we can demand whatever we want, but there's another party that isn't in this room that has a say. So, the motion on the table, I won't ask Mr. Grachowski to read it again, but.
I mean, first priority would be work with our DPS director, Mr. Yee, who facilitated our throne agreements previously prior to DDA. So we would contact our contacts through them and see what they would be willing to do, if anything, for us. Based on that learned information I was unaware of at this point.
Right, yeah, I have not spoken to them in several months since the DDA took over the contract, but they've been pretty accommodating in my experience on, I mean, they want the long-term business and the long-term reputation. I don't see them not giving us a month to work it out for sure. Even if we were to build a new one, we'd probably still want it for another month or another year anyway, but still, in order to work this out while we try to figure out where the funding's coming from and things like that, there's not much doubt in my mind that they would accept a month to have us work things through.
All right. Mr. Marcus?
Well, I don't know how they're going to come back in terms of that. So why don't you give us how many months you're willing to go? You want to get it through this summer?
I see Commissioner Bastian has his hand up. What do you think?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bouncing right off of Mr. Marcus's point, I was wondering if my colleagues would be amenable to initially pursuing a month-to-month contract, but if that is not feasible, giving staff direction to pursue a contract that does not continue past December 31st. So the ability to go from now to the end of the year, if month to month is not amenable to Throne.
And is your preference to share the cost with the DDA? I'm sure your preference is to have the DDA pick it all up, but.
That is a correct assessment. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, again, actually, there's another party here from a funding point of view that, I mean, I think what we have to talk about is what we're willing to do up here with our budget. I think month to month, until, like, I wouldn't do a 6 month. I would just do month to month up until December 31st if we can't get a plan in order. So I think it's a little bit of a hybrid, Commissioner Bastian, what you were thinking, but it puts a little bit of leverage. And if, you know, we come up with a plan and idea, then we can go back and renegotiate a year, you know what I mean? It's not like we have to wait till after 6 months or whatever. Or if we find another solution, there might be other alternatives to thrown out there that may not be as good, but they're a little less money and it buys us time and saves us money. We haven't done that analysis yet either, so. Commissioner Colo?
I also don't want to negotiate against ourselves tonight and say, well, we want month to month, but we'll take 6 months, right? Like, you know, I rather us, you know, there seems to be a conversation that would be more of a closed session contract negotiation. I hope that we can get through, you know, we can get through this tonight. Throne, from my recollection, was always able to go month to month. I don't know what would have changed in the meantime. So I hope we could do that and then I think we can find a long-term solution too. That's the goal of tonight, right? Is to set us up for a long-term solution that's amicable with the DDA, with our public needs also, so.
Good. All right. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. This brings us down to the last part of our agenda tonight, adjournment. We have a motion by Commissioner Cantina, second by Commissioner Bastian. Any discussion? All right. With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Adjourned.